All right, welcome back, everybody. We are now live, so sorry about that little bit of delay. We do have Daniel here with us too, one of our moderators in the Discord. So on this live stream, we're going to cover a little bit of everything. Usually we go off course a little bit, but usually it's good when we go off course. But we're going to cover Shiba Inu. We're going to cover Saitama. We're going to cover the CRO coin, which has been exploding. We're also going to address some of the rug pulls out there that we have seen, Suzuki, potentially Mononoke. I want to get Daniel's thoughts on that. I know there's a lot of action going back and forth on that and conversation around that. I did put out an audio message to all my private community members. Don't freak out. I just wanted to kind of bring you up to speed on what we're hearing, what we're seeing. And, this wild space, it is important to do our due diligence. And, I think the other thing to stress here early on is diversification, right? Being diversified in larger projects. I've said this many times in videos, many times on live streams, but I'll say it here again. My largest holding is Ethereum by far. It will continue to be that. And also Cardano is my second largest holding. Now, I do obviously dabble in more speculative plays, but keep that in perspective when you're going into these plays that things happen and they happen quickly. And if you're not diversified, you can really be hurt badly. And we don't want to see that. All right. We want to see all early investors, because I know there's a lot of you out there that are very new to the space, do well and grow your portfolio. That's always our mission here on the channel. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. And we've got a bunch of people hanging out with us. So welcome in. Mononoke has tweeted quite a bit on FUD recently, still holding. I did see that. I want to get Daniel's opinions on that. We'll get to that in just a little bit, though. Let's talk about Shib first and foremost, because most of the viewers here want to know what's going on. Steve's got a super chat. Appreciate you, Steve. Thank you, man. He says, Patreon member of yours, thanks for everything. You're welcome, Steve. Appreciate your support, man. But Shib, right now at the 4.4 level, Daniel, are you concerned at all right now with the price of Shib?
No, this is still very much within the zones that I am most happy to have it consolidating towards. It's filling in the bands of sort of a normal distribution. Wait, can I flip screens with you for a moment? But we did that last time. It just makes it easier for me to show my chart instead of walking you through making yours.
Yeah.
How do I do this again? Yeah, share screen. Yeah, that might work. And StreamYard, this might work. Awesome. So this is just to get a view, just to get a view of my chart over here. So I think everyone is in the Discord has seen my version of this. I've pretty much been updating it every couple of days with sort of the points of interest where we start to see like real volume. Just give me a sec to get to load everything. Okay. So if we're looking at the actual volume distribution that people purchase Shib at, we are pretty much filling in a normal distribution. The thing this week that actually caught me by surprise when that surprise jump happened, this little bit over here. Are you guys seeing me okay? Just so I know I'm on the right thing?
Perfect, man.
Awesome. So when this little bump happened today, I really expected it to sort of edge up around what was at the time the actual volume average central. So it was actually the mean of the standard distribution we have forming up here. The current zones that it's in that I have marked in purple are the areas that we're actually missing sort of a normal standard distribution. If you remember back to your high school statistics, it's that sort of bell curve shaped thing. And what we were really seeing at this spot was sort of a regression to the mean. So we're seeing it really fill in, and it's sort of averaging out, which is good because it's normal trading. It's healthy sideways trading as opposed to spiking around all over the place and not really having a clean distribution. So the parts that I want it to see are the parts that it's actually filling in. So this nice little hole over here, which it's currently working on, and then I'd like to see it fill in this spot over here. At that point, we could not be healthier for any sort of movement up. Compared to how other speculatives are behaving, I'm not actually. How do I stop screen share? There we go. Compared to how other speculatives have been performing, it's pretty solid. I mean, you saw things take a much heavier dip when Bitcoin sort of scared people.
Yeah. Speaking of Bitcoin, actually, so I've got Crypto Fear and Greed Index. I'm going to pull this up. So right now, we're actually right in the neutral zone. Of course, we had weeks of extreme greed. What do you think's happening with Bitcoin right now? Are we still in a bull market? That's the big question, right? I think we are, but you have a better technical perspective. Where are we with BTC? I think we're at 5.8 right now, 58,000. I'll pull that up here.
Yeah, it's not behaving in more. It again, a lot of people still have. There was a lot of news last week about people talking about how we're on the track to 100K Bitcoin and how X, Y, and Z model, stock and flow. Take your pick of some random models are projecting end of year 100K. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm not banking on it though. It's tricky. A lot of it, I think, could have to do with a lot of the upcoming failures for Bitcoin ETFs, especially spot ETFs that are coming out. A lot of people are a bit nervous about that. And there was also some news floating around that there was a lot of short manipulation on it. Because for a lot of these ETF entries, people were looking to sort of maybe attempt price manipulation. Personally, I don't see any patterns for manipulation just yet. I could be missing something though. It is good to see that it lost, I think, about 1.5%, maybe 1.8% of dominance, which never bad. We haven't actually entered an official altcoin season yet, which some people think is just a random metric. It actually is just a mathematical quirk and has no relevance. But if we actually reach what qualifies as 90 days of the top 75 altcoins outperforming Bitcoin, it would definitely be a fun time. I am happy to see that so far Ethereum has actually been substantially more stable. I mean, if you look at it, people who bought Bitcoin during this recent peak actually bought it much more at higher prices than they did Ethereum at its sort of higher price. So people mostly in this last peak, if we're looking sort of mid like October-ish, end of September-ish, a lot of people picked up Ethereum at the 3,500 mark and are still well up, versus Bitcoin, where because of all these ETF entries and because of all that activity, over the last couple of weeks, you actually have a lot more holders who are currently down. So I think that's having a lot of impact on the play, but it's actually it bodes very well for Ethereum, to be honest.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like hearing that. And a lot of people asking right now, just coming in, have we covered Saitama yet? No, we're going to be covering Shib, Saitama, CRO COIN, and the wider crypto market conditions right now. Right now, just addressing Bitcoin and Ethereum because those two are always so important to check in on. Right now, and speaking of dominance, 42% BTC, 19.3 for ETH. So we've got a super chat here. D'Amico Smith. D'Amico, thank you for that. Are you invested in Shibnobi? This is one I have seen quite a bit over the last couple of days. Have not done a deep dive yet. Could you please do a YouTube video on it? Dev is doxed, and he has been so active in the chat. Amazing project. Well, I want to ask you this, D'Amico, and Daniel and I talked about this pre-stream. What do you like about it, D'Amico? And feel free to put a chat in there. Hopefully I can see it as it comes across. What do you personally like about it, D'Amico? And Daniel, to you, have you looked at this Shibnobi? I'll pull it up over here on my end.
A couple people have requested looks at it. I personally haven't taken the time for it yet. It's starting to feel. I mean, nobody take this the wrong way beyond just my thoughts, but it's starting to feel a bit stupid. When in a row, when the last 50 things that people are asking to take a look at all are meme and extremely speculative meme stuff. Like just as an overall, if you spend 10 hours looking at crypto and 9 hours of that are spent looking at highly speculative stuff, then I would encourage people to start broadening their horizons a bit.
I agree. And I want to stress that in this stream a little bit too, because listen, there's no question there's money to be had with some of these speculative plays. But I think, in seeing a lot of portfolios recently of, new Patreon members coming in, speaking of which, link down below if you're interested in that, the entire portfolio is made up of these plays. And I have to say, hey, it's time to diversify, right? Especially if you're way up in some of these speculative plays. Diversify into some other assets that are more secure, that are more, as I like to say, the backbone of your portfolio, right? So for me personally, and I know Daniel could mention a couple of his, Ethereum, Cardano. I really like Phantom right now, Harmony One. There's a few just to entertain. What do you have on this point, Daniel? Just, in terms of having assets as your backbone before you go out into the crazy waters.
Well, the litmus test for that, in my opinion, is if you run into. I think I've mentioned this before, but it's one of my rules. It's if you're looking at something as a long-term prospect, or if you're looking at something to be seriously invested in, then you should know it. You should know the ins and outs of it well enough that if you're talking to someone who knows absolutely nothing about crypto, like an aunt and uncle, a parent, whatever, or just a stranger who just wants to talk to you in a bar about this crypto thing he keeps hearing about, that you could explain to them in like a reasonable 5-10 minutes kind of what it's about and why it has value and what it's, what it could do. So like XRP, Cardano, Ethereum, Bitcoin, it's not that hard, provided they've heard one or two news stories on it, to sort of go over the fundamentals of why it's worth holding. It would be much more of a challenge to take something like Shib, for example, or take something like Mononoke, or take your pick of any speculative thing, pretty much anything with either Elon, Inu, or an anime character in the name, and explain to them the fundamental value of it. That's not to say it can't be profitable, but it is to say that's sort of the litmus test between if it's something you should really be examining for a really long-term investment. When it comes to the diversification thing, I would touch on Warren Buffett's wisdom, and that's that after a certain point, like, diversification is important, but there's limits to it. After a certain point, when you're holding in crypto, I would say beyond 9 or 10 main assets, then you've stopped diversifying to protect yourself, and you've started diversifying to hedge against your own, ignorance is really the way to put it. It's, the idea is you hold so many things that it's impossible to follow them all accurately. It's impossible to have researched them all accurately. And basically you're just spreading out so much that if 5 of them fail, 2 of them will succeed. Like, at that point, you've stopped diversifying for the benefit of keeping all your bases covered, and you've really just hedged against yourself not doing sufficient research.
Agreed wholeheartedly. We've got a super chat coming in from Destruct Gaming. So how can the devs earn your time to do an honest review on Hero Token? All right, I will write this down. I have heard about this one quite a bit. Have we done a full review on this one, Daniel, in the Discord?
I'm not familiar with having heard it.
Okay. So Heroes dev team is fully doxed. They're trying to help change the charity space utilizing crypto. Willing to do a live AMA. Okay, this is something I'm interested in. How funny is this, Daniel? We were just talking about this pre-stream, right? A live AMA with the dev team. This is something I'll look into. Destruct Gaming, thank you for the super chat. Trying to figure out how I can get in touch with you or somebody from the dev team. Destruct, why don't you go ahead and add me on Twitter? It's at Z_Humphries, and we can go from there and see if we can maybe make something happen there. I would be willing to entertain it if the dev team is fully doxed, and if they're willing to come on and do a Q&A. This is something I'd be willing to entertain. So, Daniel, do you have something to add?
Hopefully, if we can get someone, not just one thing I in the space in general that I'm seeing very much of is that a lot of the interviews with YouTubers and with people, like the faces which are being shown are not too often the people who are doing the actual coding and the people who can answer the technicals, and it's sort of overly broad in terms of it's a representative who is talking about the general picture. So if it's possible to organize somebody who's got the technical side of things covered, that's never, I mean, it's a boring discussion for anyone listening, to be honest. I mean, listening to 2 people nerd out about the specifics of a contract, or take your pick, is never fun watching, but it's good to have.
Yes, I agree. So Destruct, if you're hearing that, we will get in touch. And he says will do. Michael will be in touch with you. Appreciate that, Destruct, and we'll go from there. Speaking of interviews with CEOs of projects, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern my time, I'll be doing an interview with Alchemy Pay CEO John Tan. We had to work out some different details to make sure we can find a time, because he's over in Hong Kong. So I think that's 8 p.m. Their time. So we're going to do about a 20-25 minute discussion, just kind of talk about some of the things going on with that project. That is a project that I really, really like. That is ACH, Alchemy Pay. It'll be the second time I had the chance to sit down with John Tan, so can't wait for that one. I'll post that tomorrow night at some point. So I'm going to do that early morning, have to work throughout the day, and then I'll come home and post that up for everybody. Probably set it as a premiere video later. So very curious to sit down. Anything you want answered in that one, Daniel? Or if you have questions from anybody in chat, is there anything you want me to ask John? I'll try to work some things in to the interview.
You'll have to remind me. I know they started working with some layer 2. I just can't remember. I remember reading about it sometime last week. They started. Polygon. So what they're working as Polygon's front end for fintech, for payment solutions, or?
Yes, that's how I understood it. And they've also had a recent partnership with Chainlink as well. So I'm going to ask them about both of those.
So now they just need to cover Cody, and they have pretty much the entire fintech bridge base covered. Okay.
How do you feel overall about ACH and
It's
anything in that space?
it's a safe hold for the moment. I don't like it doesn't seem like something which really has a chance of collapsing at any point. It seems like it'd probably do pretty well in a bear market. I have a small to medium sized bag at the moment of it, which has been underperforming, but pretty much all my fintech portfolio has. But I do like it's when you're that reliant on partnerships. I'm hearing myself from your background again. But when you're that reliant on partnerships and stuff, it's not a worry, but it's more like which group are they partnering with that doesn't do something they already do. So at a certain, like I get that they have a lot of geographic space covered, and I get that like I haven't really gotten a chance to get hands on with their tech. Like I haven't, to be honest, dug into it all that much in terms of trying to pull their frameworks or anything like that, but to have a technical demonstration and to have the nerd version of the white paper published. But I remember last time I checked it, there was some excellent documentation on it, but there was none of the, how am I going to compare on a technical level them versus Cody versus AMP versus, take your pick of payment solutions, because the payment solution space, you've got, off of the top of my head, about 25 different scales. You've got extremely low market cap ones that have got really innovative stuff that just need to take off, and then you've got the ones that have been around for a long time and also haven't really taken off. It's encouraging to see that PayPal had an adoption of crypto. I think it was this week, if not last week.
Yes, big news.
So that would actually bode pretty well for them, because you may see a lot of the mainstream shopping center stuff like that, people who accept PayPal in general, kind of having an option for crypto payments just because it's money. And I'd like to see the impact on that. But yeah.
Something that he mentioned, John, that is, Daniel, that they're really looking at the Middle East region. And being that you're familiar with that, I don't want to give too much away there. No. Is that okay? Can I say that?
Sure. Yeah, sure. You already said it, so you can't unsay it.
Yeah, well, you're right. I just want to know if I can go a little further. So being that you're in the Middle East, PayPal is the primary kind of app in that space, right? In the Middle East. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes and no. It's okay. a lot of the economy. It really depends kind of what generation you're talking. It also depends what area you're talking. Like a lot of the culture in the Middle East is really the word is shuk in Arabic and in Hebrew, and I don't remember the direct translation is bazaar, but it's kind of like a flea market type of setup for a lot of people. Like, okay, very much a great deal of the Middle East does not declare their actual income on their taxes. So the vast majority of the Middle East, I don't have statistics off the top of my head, but I have statistics from when COVID was an issue here, and people were trying to get reimbursed. And because people had so underdeclared their tax revenue, they got under reimbursed for COVID. So because of that, you can tell that people are working in cash and working some sort of side hustle on top of that. So that type of stuff, no. For purchasing PayPal, it's if it's easy, it comes down to what's easy. If I look at stuff that's done in stores, like you'll see some tech pop up for a week everywhere, some sort of new credit card way or some sort of new like tap to pay or something like that, and 2-3 weeks later it's gone because it just wasn't comfortable for the person using it, or not enough people touched it. The key to the Middle East, at least, is really making it extremely easy for the shop owner, be it a virtual shop or a physical shop, and really making it easy for the user. Like it's got to be the easiest thing for them to set up.
Gotcha. A couple super chats we got to jump to. So for everybody just popping in, yes, we're covering Shib, we're covering Saitama, we're covering CRO COIN, and all the things going on with Mononoke and Suzuki. We will get to all of that. So hang tight. I know we're getting a lot of questions around that. So Joseph, $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. No one is talking about Shib's average hold time going from 9 to 24 days in a short period of time. I'm guessing that's on Coinbase, right? Is that a stat across the board? I'm not sure. That's a big stat. Many are missing. Holders are growing. That's a good point. I'm going to take a look at number of holders. Daniel, do you have anything to add on that front in terms of hold time? Is that a big deal, or is that understated, overstated?
I get the sense that that's going to even out over time, mostly because you saw the tiny pump the other day, which again I had actually assumed that because what happened is it reset the mean for its volume movement, actually kind of messed up the calculation. But when you look at it, when it had its peak a week and a half ago, give or take, I can get the exact date. When it had its peak on the 28th of October, you still have something to the tune of 1.7 trillion Shib that's still kind of being held. Well, that was held at that point by people who bought at the top. So I think we really got to, before we can really trust any of the statistics, the sort of the anecdotal statistics of how long people are holding. Like I'm not saying it's not important, but I'm saying it plays a much less important role when things are much more all over the place. When you have 20% of people are holding it at 30% above its current price, and you have the bulk of when you have the distribution like you have now, it's much more difficult to take information like that and sort of make something of it. But it's not that I'm not saying it's irrelevant. Again, great statistics. The more nerd information we can get, the better. I just wouldn't bank off of it at the moment. It also could. It has a lot to do with the rate at which it's moving. I mean, it's not surprising to see people holding it longer when it's not jumping all over the place, day to day.
Yeah, that makes sense. More stable, more people feel comfortable holding. I mean, do you like that? I mean, it has been going down slowly, but still number of holders has been up over the past week or two. Is that just is that people, basically, is that smart money waiting to buy the dip, or is this people just learning about it for the first time, or do you think it's more of a mix? Hopefully that makes sense.
Depends who you're classifying as smart money, to be honest. No, smart money. If someone is looking to buy Shib for 2 to 5 years from now, is not going to be buying now. They're going to be buying a year from now when it's down by 90% and the entire crypto market is down by 90%. If by smart money you mean people who have got large net worths and they've got $1 million or $2 million to throw around, I don't think this is the price zone that they'd really be interested in. Like they're either interested in much lower or they're not interested in price. Smart money really invests in the project. I shouldn't say that because you also have money managers. It's a tricky question because you don't know how many of the high net worth individuals who are actually interested in investing in Shib would do it via a money manager of some sort, or would do it. And I'm pretty sure there's no more than 2 money managing corporations who would actually involve Shib in their portfolio. But they're looking at the fundamentals of the project. I don't think you're really going to see large mainstream investors entering Shib until it survived a bear market, because anyone entering at this point knows that tomorrow, the day after, next week, next month, crypto winter comes along and they lose 90% of what they put in. And it's just not, if you're talking about that scale of investment and you're not looking to just swing trade it for, I put in $1 million and I take out 1.5 million, then it's just not the area you're looking to enter in.
991,000 holders right now, so we're getting close to that 1 million mark. Steve has a super chat: for a successful Shib burn to happen, all holders will have to get involved. The entire Shib community of 2 million followers would have to get involved. I think he's speaking to Twitter there. Contribute like 50 each. Your thoughts on this, Zach? I've heard a lot about the Shib burns. I like the creative things that people are doing, and I think the dev team will still create more burns over time. Where do you stand on burning of coins, Daniel? For me, it's kind of on the back burner. I think in due time it'll take care of itself. There are creative ways that we could do this. Is there something that would drastically change the Shiba Inu supply if everybody were to get involved? Would it really make a huge difference like this? I mean, how would this work? Yeah.
It makes no sense to do it. It doesn't make sense to internally burn money, to just shuffle, okay, fine. The people who don't partake in this collective burn, the people who don't partake in it gain from it. Everyone else doesn't. It also that's not exactly how the pricing works. I mean, to take for example, if I minted a token, Daniel token, and I made 1 million tokens out of it, and I actually listed 100,000 of them for trading, and I managed to have the price be at $1. I do not have $1 million of locked value in that token. I mean, but it may be trading at $1. So the way that it's not the way that they're priced; it's the way that cryptos get overpriced. I mean, the realistic market value of Shib is not in the $60 billion range, because there isn't a money pile of $60 billion sitting in it, and there's no assets held by it when it's purchased that could be compared to it for overpricing. So like Apple, for example, if you took all of their assets that in cash on hand and everything like that, compared it to their stock price and their market cap, you'd still have a massive overprice, but there's actually assets there. If you looked at Shib, there's no, besides the TVL, which of like stable coins that are actually in there, and the initial liquidity, which is like 25 Ether, there isn't actually a locked value. So it's for like to digress to the actual question. Burns internally don't do anything. They're not a useful mechanism besides just shuffling. I mean, it's like sitting down at a poker table where everyone has 1,000 chips and let's all take 100 chips from everybody. You haven't actually added money to the pot. What a burn is may be useful when it comes from external revenue. So something that would fundamentally change it, and I've said before, is if Shib had a DeFi lending platform where you could make, people who are interested in crypto to the level of they wish to be involved with Shib may begin to expose themselves to DeFi lending in order to either amplify gains and other stuff, or just make use of the financial devices that are available in DeFi. And if you took a percentage of the profits of that and burned it, then you're talking about a mechanism that actually adds value to the system. If the it's like, when I fill up my gas tank, when I go to the have everybody else who bought gas that day buy me 1% of my gas, that doesn't add value to the gasoline sales or anything like that. Internal burns are not. I also need to mention that Manny earlier mentioned when I said money managers aren't going to go into Shib, he's absolutely correct. Money managers at the moment are not interested in putting money into Shib. But I did hear about 2 that are actually considering having it in their portfolio. So just for clarity's sake, there are 2 money managers who have at least evaluated adding Shib as part of their portfolio. I don't recall the names of them, but they're not one of the large ones. They're not one of the $1 trillion scale ones, but they've at least begun research into evaluating it, probably for next season.
Interesting. And real quick, just first and foremost, thank you everybody for popping on here. Real quick, could you hit that like button, like the smash button for us real quick? Really helps us out with the algorithm. Thank you everybody for joining us. Daniel's here with us too. Daniel's one of our private community members, a moderator in our Discord. If you're interested in joining our Discord, where it's kind of the behind the scenes look, behind the curtain, link down below in the description. You can come over and join our Patreon. And the supporter levels start at $10 per month. You could save 15% off by paying annually, or you could go up to 20 and get buy and sell trade alerts and hot weekly crypto alerts. So Ashwin has a super chat. ETH is dropping. When can I open a long? I'll tell you what, I really liked Ethereum below 4,000 when we just saw that a couple days ago.
Delicious.
Yes, I am super bullish on ETH. So Ashwin, I would say, buying ETH, I don't want to say at any level is good, but if you're planning on holding this long term, I mean, there are some crazy projections out there, right? Like January 2023, Squish Report has something like 20 to 30,000 base case Ethereum. So if you believe that, is there really a right price to get in? I get that you want to buy it at a lower price for sure. Below 4,000 is definitely delicious. I was getting it down at 1,100 is when I first started getting in. Kind of kicking myself. I didn't get it at 600 because I really thought about doing it. This was probably January. Don't quote me on this. January 2021. But got in slowly at 1,100. Quite a bit more at 1,700. So, Daniel, do you have anything regarding ETH? I know you just said you love it below 4K.
Well, I did acquire a chunk more. I increased my ETH position by, if I remember correctly, 8% when it was at 39.75. So, I mean, for me, under 4K is a strong acquire for ETH. But again, you also know my long-term opinion. I don't think ETH is going to be what flips Bitcoin. And long-term, they have a lot of growth and sustainability problems, which I'm not actually convinced that ETH 2.0 are going to solve. But that's neither here nor there. That's a different discussion altogether. But if you've got just as a general across the board, if people who are in chat who have got large holdings in anything that has Inu or Elon in the name, if you're not sitting on like at least a healthy 30% or 40% of your overall holdings in layer ones, then statistically over time, you will miss a lot of the gains that crypto will have to offer. So, Cardano is by far investing in the nerds. Ethereum is still investing in the nerds. It's just the nerds are now businessmen as well. Personally, I think that long term, and not price wise, but in terms of overall adoption and success, I do still think that Cardano has more promise over time. But yeah, I wouldn't start investing. I wouldn't pick up ETH because I heard a projection is going to be worth 4 times what it is. Because starting with 4x is not a stable projection to base investments on. I would be perfectly happy if ETH reached 4,500 from my current accumulation. I also have ETH that I picked up, around the $200 and $230 mark from back in the day. So, it's I may be a bit skewed in this, but a $200, $300 difference on a $4,000 asset should not be what breaks the bank for you. Like you should fundamentally want it as an investment because you've researched it and you see its potential, not just because you think it's going to go up by X percent or X multiples. If you're not a fan of, like, I know a lot of people who are big fans of Solana. I personally don't touch Solana. But I have my reasons for it. If you want them, I can give them to you, but
Yeah, sure. I want to hear that. And, with Ethereum too, obviously the price predictions are great, right? But I truly believe in the project, to Daniel's point. With Ethereum, you look at the NFT space. I know a lot of other people are getting involved, but it is primarily dominated by Ethereum. I really look at Ethereum as, I say this loosely, the internet of money in the future, how a lot of transactions will be processed. Now, I know there's other big players out there. I'm not as invested, or I should say that, not as up to speed on the tech side of things. And as Daniel said, Cardano is for the nerds. That's my second largest holding. A lot of people will say you got to pick one or the other. Are you going ETH? Or are you going Cardano? I'm going both. But I'm interested to hear your Solana take too.
First of all, just as a side, I really want people to stop misusing the word belief when they're talking about, crypto projects. Saying you believe in a crypto project. I think that's why they had that bit about the golden calf in the book of Exodus. Don't confidence in a project. Belief is confidence without evidence. Really, if you're on a project because you have a good feeling about it, you can sure use the word belief. I'm confident in Cardano in the long term. I'm confident in Ethereum in the long term. I don't believe in it because there's empirical evidence to show that it's succeeded. It's a small thing that annoys me occasionally. Now about Solana, the thing that I don't, were you around in crypto when EOS was very popular?
That was 2017.
A couple of years ago, give or take. I lost track of the years. But the main thing that was the crux that kind of broke EOS was that became clear that like 20 board members there could decide to just shut the whole thing down. I'll simplify my explanation. In Discord, in the classroom, we actually give a much more in-depth breakdown of why I think Solana is not a healthy thing long-term, but that's neither here nor there. The simplified version is that when they had a problem, they got 40 people together, give or take, to decide to pause the network and fix their problem. They had a flooding attack. They decided to stop the network. Now, as soon as you hear they stop your blockchain, if that doesn't perk your ears up and make you run for the hills, then that's against the entire idea of having a blockchain and having decentralized finance. If they can stop it and shut it down for a bug, they'll stop it and shut it down for an SEC investigation. They will stop it and change it so that your assets are now seized, which is against the entire idea of it. Now, I'm not at all saying that Solana can't be profitable. Solana is making crazy price movements that are extremely profitable, and you can profit off of it greatly. But fundamentally, it doesn't jive with the reason personally that I'm in crypto and DeFi. And the reason I mention EOS is because that's, EOS a couple of years ago was extremely popular. It looked like to be the thing that was most on fire, and it was a serious competitor to Ethereum at the time. But long term, you saw that was really the downfall of it. It was the entire notion of decentralization, which is something people don't generally pay too much mind to. like Binance Smart Chain can also have the same sort of downfall, is that it's run by, I think, 24 validators who are chosen by Binance. And if it becomes a legal issue, technically there's nothing stopping, if the SEC threatens Binance enough to stop the following 50 accounts and drain their earnings and give them to the SEC until we decide otherwise. There's nothing logistically stopping it. Whereas on Ethereum or Cardano or Bitcoin, that's just not a possibility logistically.
Good points. Good points.
Why
D'Amico.
are people accusing me of fudding? I said that Shib is extremely healthy in terms of its movements.
Daniel, you're getting more popular. You know, the more popular you get, the more FUD you're going to deal with, the more haters, man. And you wait till you start your own channel. We're going to get Daniel to start his own YouTube channel.
I have the equipment arriving. I'm very much working on it. It just takes forever to get the right equipment here. But those who are thinking I'm not bullish on Shib, I have got a sizable bag of Shib in my cold wallet, which is not moving. And the charts that I was showing earlier are not at all saying that the Shib price is going down. I'm saying it's filling in a very healthy consolidation pattern, and I see great things from it.
Love it. Now, regarding Shibnobi again, D'Amico comes back. Its anticipated future utility is cross-chain DEX for BSC and ETH, and play to earn game with NFT integration charity in the future as well. Similar things we hear a lot about many other projects. D'Amico, I appreciate the super chat. It's just going to take us, some time to look through this. We have not. I don't think either one of us, Daniel or myself, have looked at this deeply.
D'Amico, if you're in the Discord, then please shoot a quick message in the token reviews channel, and I'll take a look at it when I have a chance to sit down and catch up on token reviews.
Yeah, that is a channel that we have over in our Discord where we do review various projects. This might be a time to interject here some of these projects that have, come under fire a little bit recently, Daniel. So Mononoke and Suzuki. Suzuki is one that we've looked at before. Did you see this coming? What was the telltale sign? Where do you stand on all of this?
So, I mean, if you want, we can pull up the Discord review I did of it in the token reviews channel. If you like, it's no pressure.
I can look for that and pull it up. Is there an easy way to get to it? Because I know there's a lot of.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Give me 10 seconds, and you talk for a second. I'll give you the message link.
Sounds good. So anybody just checking in right now, we are going to talk about the things happening with Mononoke, Suzuki. We're talking about everything crypto today, of course. Shib, Saitama. We haven't even got to Saitama yet, so if you're here for that conversation, hang out with us a little bit longer. We will get there and talk about that. I did see your super chat as well, Joshua. We're going to get there. Everybody in here, 921 of you. Let's try to get to 1,000. You can help out just by smashing that like button. It'll push it out into the interwebs a little bit deeper and get some more people in here so we can have a great conversation and talk crypto. So
I sent you the link in the private chat. If you open that, or if you paste that in Discord, and it'll take you to the correct channel. I didn't have it pegged as a rug pull. It didn't have the smell of one, but it did have a couple red flags, which this was actually. Going forward, I'm definitely going to be being a lot more strict on things that I considered red flags that were tolerable, and they're now intolerable. So, for example, up until now, I've just considered the Telegram only as being a means of communication, as just being a red flag that kind of enough projects do that it doesn't bug me. This point going forward, that absolutely 100% bugs me, even on the most speculative of things. So gotcha. if it is strictly a Telegram communication with anyone, in my book, it's now a no-go. That's my opinion. That's, again, everyone, do whatever fits your taste. But if we're talking about strictly Telegram to communicate with people, no.
So basically, if they don't have basically a Twitter, Instagram, those other means too.
Twitter's an iffy one, because generally a lot of these projects, their Twitter is barren. It is just either shouts about how to buy it or contests on how to buy more of it, and there's no actual interaction with, there's no actual tweets. It's really just, they've opened a Twitter, put out 40 different random messages about here's how to buy it, here's a giveaway and stuff like that. That kind of bugs me in general. It's kind of tricky. The parts which really concern me, which you'll see it's sort of in the summary at the end, you zoomed in way close here, and it's kind of weird to see, but okay. The things that are kind of buggy here are the to-do list roadmaps, which that is something that's never going away. But the thing that did bug me there is the 10% unlocked LP, which as far as I can tell, I haven't had a chance to really dig into the technicals of their rug pull yet. But there was in the TLDR at the end. I actually wrote it doesn't smell like a rug pull. So, full disclosure, I was off on that. The part that does appear to have been the concern is the 10% unlocked LP, which was when I reviewed it. And in that case, that was an oversight. That should have just been 100% red flag as well. So there was indeed a legit 90% lock on LP, and upon reviewing it, there was a 10% chunk that had been unlocked, and at first glance at least, that appears to have played a large role in their rug pull, because they didn't 100% rug pull. They appear to have just rug pulled a sizable portion of the liquidity by a massive sale. So stuff like that, which are small things that were kind of tolerable for me in my books now, especially for the highly speculatives, are just no-goes anymore. Now, how that translates to other projects, that's really up for individuals to decide. I'm still reevaluating my criteria in this case.
I like that, and we'll say the same here. Joshua, thank you for the super chat. Please take a look at Gojira. I think it's Gojira Inu. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that correctly. New ERC20 came out yesterday. I definitely haven't had the time to look at this one yet. Huge support, based devs, solid utility behind it by the dip. Joshua, appreciate that.
Joshua, what's the utility?
Yes, Joshua, let us know the utility. Why do you really like it? Yeah.
If people who are either super chatting or normal chatting and you're putting in tokens you'd like us to speak about, it would do much better if you tell us why you like it, and not sort of a general they went up by X% or they do games. If there's something that is special about it, mention it. I mean, what do you like about Daniel token?
I agree. So we will we'll save that one. And again, I think it was Joshua. If you're in the Discord, we do have a place where you can ask that question, and Daniel will get to it when he has time. Steve, do you believe Shiba can reach 1 cent in a year? These catalysts are pretty certain to come in: Robinhood, AMC, and possibly McDonald's and Tesla. Not going to happen. The market cap would just have to be astronomical. Maybe one day when Bitcoin's worth $1 million. What do you have, Daniel?
I mean, that's not the purpose. I mean, if you read the actual Wolf paper, that's not the intended purpose of Shib. If you're looking for the store of value token that can go to insane prices, I'm not suggesting this as something to acquire. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to acquire. But if you actually read through the definition of the Shib ecosystem, the token which is supposed to store value is Leash. I mean, that's just a project and how they broke it down. The objective of Shib is to be a cheap token. I'm not saying it won't go much up from where it is now. It definitely has been performing well in the past. It could perform just as well. But the objective of Shib is not to hit a penny, because then people won't be able to afford nearly as much. I mean, the one that is supposed to really be a hefty like is to reach the 10,000 20,000 mark. I'm not saying it's going to, but I'm saying that's the intended purpose is Leash.
And Leash got close to that mark. I believe the all-time high is 9,000, right, or close to it.
8,600 and change, if memory serves. But that was very close to the initial release of it. So it's not a fair judge of it. I wouldn't take the first week or two of an ecosystem and take that as performance. But I would say next cycle. Personally, in terms of my Shib ecosystem acquisition pattern, when we start entering a clear bear market and meme tokens and pretty much the entire crypto sphere is down by substantial amounts, and Shib, sorry to say to anybody, but Shib and meme tokens in generally perform quite poorly during bear markets. So you will be able to acquire Shib at 5 to 10% of the current price, and Leash also at a substantial discount. So I intend to have a very sizable acquisition of both Leash and Bone during those times. That's just my personal strategy of it. I have a set amount. I have a set bag aside that I've been building up since it got above my ceiling for DCA that I've been building up. And when it reaches below my buy entry values, then I'm going to start acquiring those three at a sizable amount. I intend for 2 to 3 years from now, the next time the meme coins become, the spice of the month, or what's the term in English? Flavor of the month. Sorry.
Yep.
That I will have probably about 20 times my current holdings in Shib, and I'm looking to have probably about a quarter that value in leash and bone.
Interesting. Great insight. Don't have a name here, but thank you for the super chat. Could you also check out DOGIRA? Dog-ira? I don't know.
I would say Dojira.
Dojira, there you go. Yeah, you're probably right. CoinGecko, TradingView charts, stuck with it because of V2 relaunch, solid dev team experience and docs. The Medium articles are amazing.
What is amazing about, okay, hyphen, what is amazing about the Medium articles? Please, people. Please.
Yeah, give us some context here. I'm writing this one down. Again, I don't have your name, but thank you for the super chat. And if you want us to take a deeper dive at it, we do have a token reviews channel in our private community. Come on over and join us. We are up over 1,000 people hanging out with us. That's pretty cool. 1 o'clock here Eastern time on a Monday. So thank you everybody out there. If you haven't hit that like button, make sure you do that. If you're wondering who the great guest is that I have today, that is Daniel. He will soon have his own YouTube channel where you can subscribe to him over there as well. But he is also in our private community and super, super intelligent person and super, super smart when it comes to crypto. So love having conversations with you, brother.
Thank you. Too kind. Always great to talk to you too.
I truly mean that, man. And so yeah, come on over and join us on Patreon if you want to, hang out with us over there. Let's transition to Saitama a little bit. And I had a conversation with you earlier, just kind of where you stand with everything right now. You're not nervous at all. This is exactly what you expected, at least in talking with you. And I did see the other super chat. We'll get to that in just a minute. You want to fill in those gaps?
I'm not sure which. There's a lot to fill in there.
Well, here let's start with this. You're right. Let me be specific here. So the FUD that was created with the CoinMarketCap banner ad.
Absolutely.
What the heck happened? What the heck happened there? Do we really know? Does it really matter? Who paid who? What the heck happened here?
Okay, so there is zero evidence in having checked the code, both myself and I have to thank Everto for his input in coming to a conclusion. But having dug into both the code as well as the back end, how to advertise on CMC, it was absolutely not an ad. So the evidence seems to support more the notion of either a malicious actor within CoinMarketCap or a hack, sort of a malicious actor against Saitama with access to the back end of it, because that was not an ad banner that was put in there. CoinMarketCap has not had ad banners since late February, and the only people who could advertise after February were people who had existing contracts with them. But if you had a banner, you could not control which page it showed up on. It would show up on all pages. It was available in that area at the time, but you could not do that specifically. But also, the code of the page itself was not pulling that from an ad space area because ads rotate. So that was put into the page. Either it was put into the page intentionally, whether it was by someone internally in CoinMarketCap as a malicious act, or a hacker, or take your pick. That's just speculation at that point. So that, but I mean, for anyone who is overly emotional about attacks on a token, and who seems to think that Saitama is being specifically targeted, I wish you to. What you need to do is keep a journal. Start keeping a journal right now about exactly when you bought in, exactly when you thought you should have left, exactly when the FUD started flowing in, exactly when people sold about it, exactly when because this is a very normal activity for a popular coin. You could trace the actions as well as the FUD releases of Saitama almost one-to-one with the price action and the FUD coming into SafeMoon. You could do it with Ethereum during the DAO hack. You could do it there. You can take a plethora of projects that have this exact same thing. So if anyone thinks that this is out of the ordinary for crypto, absolutely not. The important thing is to maintain your head and to stay calm. I'm not sure if that conveys sort of the general thing. I mean, I believe I sent you a collection of other stuff that had been buzzing around throughout either Reddit or various forums or various other stuff people are digging up to cause additional FUD. And frankly, I fully expect that between now and whenever they do announce a set date for the wallet release, you'll probably see one or two more larger FUD things come up. My personal theory, and I've said it a few times in the Discord, is I'm waiting for the inevitable release of a disgruntled former employee who has some internal communications either recorded or screenshotted, and they look really bad out of context, because that one always crops up at some point. So that, I mean, be prepared for that. Don't overreact to it. Don't let it get your heart. If you are confident in Saitama long term, continue to hold. Personally, that's not my strategy. I'm looking to profit off of my acquisition for Saitama. I'll continue to hold the bag that I've been holding till now, and I have a point that I've calculated where right now I'm going to make an additional entry point in an acquisition pattern to profit off of the wallet release, and I'll be selling that for an additional profit. And I'm still on the fence personally whether or not I want to establish an acquisition pattern throughout the bear market, because the juicy stuff, the important stuff, the actual stuff that Saitama is looking to develop isn't going to be in place for another couple of years. I mean, I fully do not expect them to suddenly have NFTs that I can use for box seats at an MMA match or something like that to be established in the next year or two. That's something that I'm still on the fence, and I'm still considering whether or not I want to establish an acquisition pattern for that.
Great stuff. So a couple other things too surrounding Saitama. You do think we will get a surge of new investors when Saitama launches, or do you think it's more about people who got out on this FUD that will get back in when Saitama launches? Is it?
Yeah. Combination of both. There may also be there is no small amount of people who in crypto, as a matter of principle and a matter of strategy, will not invest in something that doesn't have a product yet. And frankly, besides their contract, there's no actual product that we can get our hands on. Think of those investors what you will, like either they're scared or whatever, but it's not a bad approach. Until you can put your hands on what these people are doing, don't invest in them, because today you can look at the Saitama contract, but besides that, it's YouTubers and people talking. Like, don't take that as an overall criticism, but that's just a pragmatic view of the state of things.
No, that's fair enough. And here's the thing, guys, we're talking a little bit about everything. I know people are jumping in and out of the stream, so we're covering Saitama, we're covering Shib, but we're also covering super chats that come in. We've hit on Bitcoin and Ethereum a little bit, so if you're interested in that, go back on the stream a little bit later, check that out. We're circling around a lot of different areas here, but the super chat came in, so we got to address this one real quick. Mononoke Inu. What do we think about this? So there's some stuff that came out, basically that it could be a rug pull. Now the dev team is coming out saying, "Oh no, here's what we're doing." I'm going to be honest here. I haven't done a real deep dive into it because I haven't been invested in this one enough. But Daniel, do you have anything here on Mononoke?
I honestly haven't looked at it in long enough. I don't recall the specifics. I mean, because we covered this in token reviews.
It was a little while back. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Actually, I don't think we ever got asked to do a full-out review on it.
I don't think so either.
All right. This
is one that I was a little hesitant from the get-go on. I'm not, and I put $500 in it, and that was it. I don't know if you're in our Patreon, you'll remember me saying, I'm not putting any more into this. Things look a little fishy. I'm going to leave it. Whatever happens, happens. And I kind of just left it. So you got to be careful with these projects. And we try to do our best, but there are so many out there that you've got to really be selective. So some of the ones that I like right now that we have done some reviews on, as Daniel's mentioned, Xenu, Zombie, their head person just came out on Twitter recently, did a video, showed his face, said that you'll be seeing a lot more of him. Shiba Inu has just done that today as well. They are planning to be more out in the open, similar to how Russ is with Saitama. So that is good to see. And Piccolo Inu is another one that we've covered on the channel that I also believe in too. I think the NFT card gaming area is pretty interesting, actually, and I think it could definitely work. Sorry, I'm talking in circles.
No, it's okay. But I mean, it's you got to decide on your approach for projects like these before you buy into them. So personally, a lot of the ones that you're mentioning, I mean, there is a chance to take profits on them, but it's the type of investment where the last thing you want them to do is to release a product or to to turn a profit, because then you can evaluate them based upon that, and then you see a massive exit. I mean, this is it's sort of an across the board strategy, but it's, I mean, when you're at the hype phase of something where, right now metaverse and crypto gaming are extremely hyped, and the reason people are buying into it is because it has the potential to be an amazing game. As soon as they actually release the game, then if it's entirely hype up until then hype crashes into reality and you see a substantial dip after that. So, I mean, it's try for every one massive speculative that you have, where you're clear with yourself that you're on it for a speculative play, like be it a year-long speculation or be it a 1 week take profits. I think people would benefit from setting a rule for themselves that when they go into something speculative, that they set aside 20% of the value they invested into a stable coin pot on the side, and they only use that when they've decided upon an asset that they would like to hold because they understand it, they believe in it, I guess is the word you'd call it, but they have confidence that this is something that years down the line will be adopted by people and will actually be used, and have that as your contribution to, I guess you can call it a retirement fund, or to your stable fund, or to your base. You want to have 3 or 4, maybe maximum 5 assets that are the things that when you have extra money, that's where your money goes, that you set up a DCA for.
In terms of NFT gaming, when you're going through picking the ones you like, is it gameplay? Is it that? I mean, I know you've been really impressed with Qubit and looking at a game that without the crypto element, without actually getting paid to play, right? The play to earn aspect. Would people still play this game? And your answer, if the answer is yes, then this is one that you would believe in, quote unquote, or have confidence in to invest in. Is that right?
Precisely.
Okay.
When I look at, I mean, there's 2 aspects to it. One is the NFT space, which at the moment, NFT as a technology is something that is an excellent technology in search of a use. So there's a lot of really far plays that are like crypto real estate or crypto power generation, also medical purposes, take your pick, where they want to use NFTs for all sorts of information tracking, voting, identification, all sorts of stuff like that. So for those, you actually have a broad spectrum of things. You can go for the speculative low cap short plays, but for that, it's really easy to make a mix of which layer 1 solution is doing that, and which middle ground sort of identification or voting platform stuff like that is doing it, and then mix that with a very speculative, maybe a gaming play. But if these technologies are not something that people would use if you weren't paying them to use it, then how are you ever going to get money off of doing it? Like Axie Infinity is not terribly not fun, but if people who hold Axie, who have made tons of money, need to evaluate whether or not that's a project that, if you weren't getting paid to play it, would anybody be playing it? So if I look at Qubit, it reminds me of games like Anthem. It reminds me of Anthem is a horrible example because it was a crappy game in the end. But like when I see the development of Qubit, for example, the way the developers speak, they seem like very impassioned game developers and world builders and people who know their way around a game and how to develop it. And I've encouraged that game developers like Everto actually compound that opinion, that the art that they're releasing really does look like it wasn't just thrown together to be an ad for a crypto. It was thrown together to be an ad for a game and to convey the world that they're trying to build. And then on top of that, sure, you got NFTs inside of it. These play to earn games, they're kind of, it's tricky to say. The really good ones are the ones that I'm interested to, that I'm interested to wait 2-3 years. Like I'm perfectly happy to wait with Qubit for 2 years for them to release a beta that just looks like what I have in my head, because what they've put out in terms of art and in ideas, I get a picture in my head of what I think that game is going to be like, and that picture seems awesome, and they seem like a team who can execute it. So I'm more than happy to wait for that game to be out. I am not terribly excited about a 2-dimensional running game all that much, or a side scroller that just maybe my nieces would play. I could very much be wrong on this aspect, because I know that there's a lot of people who I've spoken with in the Discord who their kids are on games like that all the time. So that's a lack of understanding on my part, because maybe you could make your kids basically mine crypto for you by keeping them busy in a game. There may be a market for that. but I'm not sure about the utility involved there. It's a tricky thing to characterize, because I take Qubit as a separate investment than as an investment in a gaming company, and I take, like, just to throw out a name, Kleekai, I take it as a speculative in maybe this game will attract enough hype and attention that I'll profit off of it.
Fair enough. I like it. We got some super chats to get to. So Unicrypt Network, top one liquidity lockers, and have 7 million in stable coins and rewards to share with stakers. The rewards are only going north. These guys lock 800 million plus. Okay, so I love Pam. Thank you. Go ahead.
Is this Unicrypt like the Unicrypt the contract holding service, like like similar to DX?
I think so, but I don't know. I've got to look at it. I'm writing it down, so I will look at this. I have yet to hear about this. Thank you for the super chat, but we got to keep it rolling here. Steve says price prediction for Shib 2025. If it stays in the top 10 for the next 3 years, the price must rise 100x or more. Well, a lot of that's going to depend on Bitcoin and where the entire market is, right? But sure, I think a lot of people want to hold Shib till 2025, no question, because they believe it will go up. But how much? It's so hard to project that, because we just don't know where Bitcoin's going to be. We don't know where this global market cap is going to be. So do you have anything to add there?
You have CoinMarketCap open. I want you to mouse over cryptocurrencies at the top there, please.
Yeah.
Cryptocurrencies. And then underneath, you see historical snapshots at the bottom there? Right there, cryptocurrencies. At the very last one, historical snapshots. People are more than welcome at any time they wish. If they wish for perspective in history, if you open that link, then what we'll see is the snapshots basically weekly. So this is a snapshot from 2013 up until today, done every single week. So you can take a look at how many, like, first of all, if you're relying on Shiba Inu remaining as a top 10 for the next 2 years, what I invite you to do is take your pick of any non-Bitcoin, non-Ethereum, non-Cardano candidate you wish in any span of years here, and see how their market cap compared to that of like Bitcoin or Ethereum at the time, and then see its movement in the month after or the year after. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying, for perspective, it may be worthwhile to examine that, because pretty much every season we see things that hop into the top 10 market. They seem extremely hyped. I mean, what was it? Nano was one, NextT was one, EOS was one, ones that are very, very promising projects, and ones which also had occasionally excellent technologies behind them. And it really seemed like finally this is going to be the thing that's going to, be the next internet, or the next identity, the next credit card, take your pick. And it really does pay to get a perspective upon where it goes, especially if you're talking about a project that has been around for some time, so you can see its movement over time. But what you should look for is a past project which tried to do something similar. At the moment, there's nothing besides Dogecoin which really did something similar to Shib. There have been community-oriented coins in the past. I can't think of one at the moment. I think Zcash, no, not Zcash, Dash. Dash was, I think, one of the community-oriented, what counted as community-oriented back in the time. But yeah, for perspective, you gotta assess realistically. I mean, what you're talking about in this case is actually my definition of risk. He just phrased it differently. My definition of risk for an asset is the chance that if starting today it got 365 days of bad price movement and bad news day after day after day, would this project still be around? And I personally today am pretty confident that Shib has got a pretty good chance of doing that, which is the reason I'm going to be doing a hefty acquisition of it over the bear market. Whether or not it'll stay the top 10 is entirely irrelevant. And in point of fact, the price of it is entirely immaterial to that. It's obtained the status where it has that staying power, that next time meme coins become a thing, people who read the news about it nonstop this year are going to be like, oh, there's that meme coin that I was looking at last time, and look, it's cheap. I'm going to buy a bunch of it now.
They're going to have confidence to go back to that well.
Yeah, and it survived the bear market, and they have an ecosystem which by then will be much more developed than it is today. So it's not. I mean, that's my definition of risk. If you're asking me personally, everyone assesses risk differently, so don't necessarily take my definition. But but again, this is why I'm on the fence about Saitama. Is I have yet to see the technical evidence that presented to me that shows me that these guys have the development and bringing the idea from the project board to reality to really be certain if they'll carry through to the next cycle or not. Don't take that as a critique. Just take it as an honest assessment that I haven't gotten my hands on any product from them yet. I've only been able to look at their contract, and their contract is pretty much a slight modification on Open Zeppelin. I sort of lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
It's all good. All great stuff. Just want to jump in. Go ahead.
2 minutes. I'm just going to get a drink. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. Let's get through some of the super chats here. That's Daniel with us. If anybody's out there wondering, he's a member of our Discord, but really he's a leader in our Discord. He's a great asset to our entire group, which has over 800 people now talking crypto all the time. He's talking about what he's going to do in bear markets. We're talking about what we're going to do during the bear market, what we're going to buy, what we're looking to acquire, how we're going to shift our money around in this crypto space. If you're interested in that, if you're interested in new altcoins, you're interested in how much ETH you should have versus Cardano and Bitcoin and all those, backbones to your portfolio, we're talking about it over here. You can become a supporter insider today. Get inside the Discord for $10 per month. I think you're going to see a ton of value for just $10 per month. The insider is $20, but you're going to get my buy and sell trade alerts as well as the hot weekly crypto alerts as well. You can also save 15% off if you just go ahead and pay annually. And again, thank you to all of our moderators over there, Daniel, Trina, Perry, Everto. Who am I missing? And Boca. Thank you all, our 5 mods over there. Couldn't do it without you. And so we've got Daniel on the horn here today. We're talking Shib. We're talking Saitama. Let me get through some super chats here. So Gira's lead dev is an OG Dogecoin developer, senior dev in Zendesk and Microsoft. They are creating games and Launchpad for third-party games. Michael, appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. I will write that down. I've been writing down all the new projects today, so I will write this one down as well. So many out there to look at. Let me continue here. James, what are your thoughts on Dogelon? This one got listed at crypto.com. James, thanks for the super chat. Yeah, this is an interesting one. I don't know exactly how it got listed there. I'm still trying to dig up that information. But I get that that it has the exposure now. I haven't done a deep dive on this. Daniel, I hear you back. Dogelon Mars, what do you got?
I have my appetite for these speculatives is so filled that I've scaled down so much my speculative portfolio, and I'm probably missing out on great profits in the process. I'm trying to come up with a positive answer so people don't get mad at me for being a fudder, but my appetite for these speculatives has just been so filled up, and they're getting so overextended into, I don't want to call it stupidity, but there's no other word it's a bit dumb at this point that you have, I think in the last week we've had 950 different tokens that all have either Inu, Doge, or Elon in their name. If you're a solid project, you don't need to use this Inu. I get the sense that at some point Inu is going to become like in the crypto dictionary, it's going to actually pick up a meaning that's just like something highly speculative that rides some other token's success or something to that effect. I don't know. One day maybe.
I like it. So James, thank you for the super chat. Mayor, why is your crypto community not pushing these guys to give our money back on the rug pull? I think he's speaking to Suzuki. I think many people are voicing their opinions, but I don't know how much more you can really do. As sad as that is to say, this is why it's very, very important that you do your due diligence and don't go all in. That's the other thing I got to say. You hear these stories of the Dogecoin millionaire and putting your whole life savings into something like that. It worked out for him, but that is not the norm. Okay, that is not something that's going to happen. And I want to say this too, because I think Daniel's getting some shit in the chat here. Daniel's still very bullish on Shib. He's bullish on Saitama, but he's adding context around it. So if you listen to the entire piece of what he's saying, sure, he's profit taking along the way. He's looking to buy Shib further down the line in a bear market. So I think people hear, one thing they want to hear, and then they jump at you. So I'm trying to cover you a little bit.
Well, if you're chatting with, again, I'm a big boy. I got a thick skin. But the thing is that my concern is that if people are reactionary in a chat when someone says about their investment or the project they like, not just is negative, but rather isn't positively spun enough, then the chances that they're overly emotional in their investment itself is much higher. I mean, I highly doubt that somebody will get mad at me for not speaking highly of Saitama because they have $200 in Saitama, just as an example. And I'm not saying I don't speak highly of them. So far, they're behaving precisely the same as other projects I've seen, which have faced the same FUD. I cannot think of a better strategy for administering it. I honestly expected them to announce a communications team and to help with messaging better, to manage expectations, that sort of whole speech, which I still expect to come out at some point. But yeah, and that'll probably come after the wallet release. But it's if you're reacting, cursing somebody out in a chat because you don't like what they said about your magic internet money, then you're probably overinvested in that particular coin. You never see someone calling a fudder on a Cardano investor, because the Cardano investor most likely didn't buy. First of all, people who are interested in hype or moonshots or pumps don't invest in Cardano. Never invest in Cardano. I'm using this as an example. I'm not here to shill Cardano. Never expect Cardano to take a massive pump ever. Expect it to grow slowly. Expect it to take forever to do anything you'd expect it to do.
But I will say you could do both. You don't have to be
absolutely.
one type of investor or the other. I mean, sure, I take my chances with a lot of these speculative plays, but bear in mind that this is a select amount of my portfolio. What's the word I'm looking for? A select allocation, right? This is not like I'm not going 50% in all speculative. So keep that in mind. I mean, however you want to slice up that pie. Is it 70%? Your top two, maybe it's Ethereum, Cardano, then 10% in your next big play or your next couple big plays. Maybe just for argument's sake here, maybe it's 70% of your money is in Ethereum, Cardano, and Solana. All right, then another 10% is in Phantom. And now what does that leave us? 20%. Now you're going to have some fun with your 20%. 10% of that 20% is allocated toward these type of cryptos. That's cool, in my opinion. But there's more ways to skin a cat.
I would add a couple points to that. One is, and this is something that I noticed people during this dip in the last week and a half or so really were lacking, and that's plan a certain level of cash position and liquid position.
True.
Happily, this past week I actually returned to my older practice of keeping 5% of my liquidity portfolio in Pax Gold, because I hated being so vulnerable to the US dollar. I'm considering a larger position, but my cash bag that I keep on the side, which
explain to everybody what that is, Daniel.
Pax Gold is a token that represents 1 troy ounce of gold. So it's the same thing as a stable coin, as like USDT or USDC, only it's backed by a troy ounce of gold, as opposed to being backed by so when gold, it's basically a hedge against inflation in the long term. But essentially, if you're holding a stable coin, it's becoming less and less that the term stable coin is accurate. It may just be called a pegged token, a coin that's just pegged to the US dollar, as opposed to a stable coin. Because the supply has increased by 40% in the last 2 years, but not relevant. Excuse me. So what I used to have as a practice was I used to keep at least 10 to 15% of my overall liquidity holdings, which is I like at the moment almost nearly 70% of my overall portfolio, of my hot wallet portfolio, is still in cash or equivalent assets. So that I have, it's been like that for me since September, because my indicators for it's time for my bull market maneuvers hasn't actually been hit since the end of September. So I'm still roughly 70%, in a very liquid position. I hate being in that because it's money that's not working for me, but that's the rules that I follow. So really, since September, I've just been playing with 30% that's sort of been available to me because of that. But what that has afforded me is that during this nice dip, I could acquire things much cheaper than I usually could. So I was speculating on Gala. Gala has been having a phenomenal time. Immutable X, Sand, they've Qubit. I acquired a chunk more.
Decentraland. Can I throw that one?
No, Decentraland has been doing phenomenally. I get the sense they're looking a bit overextended just by their movement. That's not to say that the hype for them can't continue, because I'm starting to see a lot of talk about people just in passing. It's anecdotal. I can't really check the stats of it yet, but their real estate acquisition stuff. You have a lot of people who are positioning to buy the virtual real estate, which I haven't quite figured out a good way to track that as a metric yet. I mean, it's going to be hard to track something like that without charts. It's going to be like playing Monopoly, and you're basically going to be looking at the price of what's the name of the most expensive place? Park Avenue.
Exactly. Yeah, got a bunch of super chats to get to here, so we're going to run through those. Just for everybody popping on, we're covering a little bit of everything here around the crypto space. We've covered Shib, Saitama a little bit. We'll probably circle back. We're going to cover CRO COIN. I do want to get to that one. Daniel, don't let me forget. Speaking of Daniel, if you don't know who he is, you got to get to know him. He is a moderator in our Discord, in our private community. Soon we'll be starting a YouTube channel too. Big tech guru. So if you want to get deep in the weeds with the technical side of crypto, he's your guy. But if you want to just join our Patreon group, we do some classroom sessions. When is the classroom today, Daniel?
I think we might actually be approaching cutting into it. Hang on, I lost track of time a bit, but give me 1 second. I'll give a good answer. Anyone listening from the channel, we may be delayed a bit in the classroom talk because we're here. About 3 hours, about 5:28, which was supposed to be about now, but still, so we'll hold it off for now. Afterwards we'll hop to the classroom and have a little talk.
Yeah, after the live stream, we'll be hopping in there, and I'll probably be heading to the gym with it on in my headphones. That's my plan. But yeah, Daniel, brilliant mind. Just want to keep reiterating that. Can't wait for him to launch his own channel. But all right, Jermaine says, love your channel. Thank you, Jermaine. Appreciate that. Did anyone get an airdrop from a Shiba.com?
Ignore it. Yeah.
I have not seen this one. I've seen the Key 7 one, and I've seen another one come in.
Look at general rule of thumb across the board. First of all, dusting tokens are very common. If it has, first of all, as a rule of thumb, ignore them. The only times that I'm ever aware of were like Uniswap and for very specific cases, there are legitimate airdrops that get done, but almost always they require some action on your behalf that is very intentional. So like Sunday Swap, for example, for Cardano, you have to do a voting action. You also have to delegate with them to get an airdrop from them. For Ethereum, like there were cases of projects that sort of across the board dusted everybody with their token in order to make it popular. It was the streaming platform. Their name evades me at the moment, but it was the group attempting to replace YouTube and video storage over blockchain. But they actually legit did dusting.
Beta?
Might be. We'll look it up later. But where they actually legit airdropped everybody with an Ethereum wallet, and then after 6 months, anyone could claim anyone else's tokens. But that is so rare that it is. Like the majority of them, which are legitimate airdrops, will require you to either hold a certain amount of a specific token, and then usually nowadays they'll give you NFTs and not actual tokens. Or they'll require you to stake or something like that. If you do not expect it, then you just hide it. Don't touch it. In our scams and I can't remember the full name of the channel, but we have a scams reporting channel in the Discord, and there we have a breakdown of how dusting tokens are designed to function. Really, it's just a morphed version of a phishing attack. So they're calling it ashib.com. You go to Uniswap, attempt to cash it in. And when it's scams and security alerts, there you go. So if you check the pinned messages there's a breakdown of how dusting tokens actually work. So the classical version, there's some tricks that people try to play as well, but basically what they're doing is they're trying to make it so that when you try to exchange it for something else on Uniswap, you'll see in MetaMask or you'll see in your wallet, transaction couldn't be completed. Please visit ashiba.com, and in that website. This is, again, there's variations on this. So this is the classic version. In that website, there'll be a place to connect your wallet. And one of two things are going to happen when you connect your wallet. One is going to be you authorize the contract of the website to spend something like your Ethereum, or they'll just look for the highest balance in your wallet and it'll authorize them to spend that. The other option is they'll make a transaction for you to sell it, but it'll actually be a transaction to send them a certain amount. So it's really just they're trying to usually the approach is to try to trick you into visiting a site and connecting your wallet. Don't connect your wallet to stuff that you're not familiar with. Also, I strongly advise people to once in a while check. Let me give you the exact site for it. It's run by. I'll give you the version for Etherscan, but there's also a version for BSC Scan. It'll cost you a bit of gas, but this is well worth showing people for security purposes in general. I'm going to send it to you in private chat, and if you want to open it for people, this is the Etherscan approval checker. What it lets you do is you search your public address of your wallet there, and it shows you every contract that has any sort of approvals on your wallet. And so I don't know if we want to search around. You know what you can do is you can search the wallet for, actually there's no approvals on it, but you could search the wallet for the 100-day journey because it's publicly known. What we need to do is establish a public address for demonstration purposes on your channel. We'll do that for next stream, I guess. But cool. What you do is you search your public address here. That's the address, for those who don't know, at which you would receive Ethereum or an ERC20 token if someone wanted to send it to you. And it lists every contract that you've given approval for. And if you see something that isn't like a legitimate swap, like Uniswap or Shiba Swap or something like that, you can pay a bit of gas to cancel it. But what you'll do is you'll revoke the ability of that contract to spend your ETH. So if you got in on like an ICO or an initial offering of some sort that may or may not be compromised in the future, may not have been the most secure thing, then it's always safe to just revoke things you don't know what they are. But by the way, for those who don't know, the approval is if you go to a DEX and let's just say you want to swap Daniel token for US dollars, you have to, the first time you swap out a token, you give the contract of the swap approval to spend that token from your wallet on your behalf. So technically, if somebody compromised the router contract for Uniswap, then they could actually drain people's wallets of everything they've ever traded on Uniswap. Now, Uniswap takes great measures to prevent that from happening. So I think it's 13 different signatures to even access that contract, and the majority of them are managed by third-party services. But yeah, so in general, that's an extremely handy thing to do at least once every 6 months. Just search your wallet addresses there, and I mean, again, it doesn't matter if it's what kind of address it is. If you find something suspicious, then you can connect your wallet by Web3, and there's a revoke option down there, which prevents that contract member spending your that token.
So there you go. That is something we are doing in our private community. We are alerting those people of scams and security alerts. Here's one thing I want to add to, want to interject here. I used to hold all my comments on my YouTube videos and try to save you from all of that. And I did that out of trying to help everybody, but it's become way too cumbersome for me to do that. So I just want to constantly remind people, I will never contact you directly. If you see WhatsApp or Telegram or anything, I'm not going to contact you that way. Anybody who's pretending to be me, I'm going to try to go in and delete as many as I can, but I was spending 3 hours a day approving comments. So I just couldn't do that anymore because I'm still working a full-time job, all this stuff, right? I don't have to bore you with the details, but just know that I will never contact you directly. And come January, I might go back to holding comments when I have a little bit more time. And just know that my hope is YouTube can do a little bit better job in the future with all of this. But that's for another day and another discussion. But
I understand there's some services starting up which are pretty okay. Ping me later about it, and I'll try to look them up. But there's some services. But again, not just for YouTube comments, people. Never accept unsolicited communication. You actually
on
just
Twitter, all that stuff too, right? Instagram. I've got a 6,000. I've got an Instagram account that has more followers, like 5 times more followers than my actual account, which really complicates some things because they think it's me because it's the bigger of the two.
The highest.
Yeah, I've reported it multiple times. I've had others report it, so we're doing the best we can with it. It's a pain in the ass, and it pissed me off.
There's really a lot. I won't say their name because I feel so sorry for them. But there was a fellow in our Discord who had gotten a Twitter conversation with a whole bunch of people from someone posing as Austin.
I felt terrible.
Being posing as Austin about a leverage trading, about a stock trading.
Yeah.
Any unsolicited communications from people who are popular, and actually, you just in Discord, if you hop back to where you were, you actually stopped right in the right spot because here exactly that message by Conrad. This is a stream that everyone has seen it for Shib and for Ada, and now it's showing up for Saitama as well, where they take a legit stream that was done a couple weeks ago by Russ and by Steve at Rocket Crypto, and they'll post over this thing. As soon as you send a token or connect to a contract that you don't know what it is, assume that money is gone. There is no action with, the number of actions in crypto where you are required to manually send an address a token are so few. Like there are actual cases where that is what you do. But if you are doing that action, then you understand crypto at the level to keep things safe at that level. Like there have been tokens in the past where they didn't do exchanges, and like a Surge would be an example of this, where you don't buy the token from an exchange, you buy it directly from the contract. So that would be a very, very rare example. But in that case, you're buying it, you know what you're getting into. But there is no legitimate case in crypto where the practice is you send me X crypto, I send you back something. If anyone does business that way, immediately be highly suspicious of them and assume that they're trying to take your money. And also, do not connect your wallet to things randomly. Have a secondary wallet that you make, preferably on a separate device, and connect with that first. If it's something you're seriously interested in, transfer funds to that, and then transfer funds from that outwards. Also, use a ledger or use some sort of hardware wallet, because that way, if you did in fact authorize a transaction or authorize a contract to interact with your wallet, then transactions still need to be signed by a third-party key. And without your ledger, there are exceptions to token approvals in this case, and to a couple of other things, but it increases your level of security by so much that it's going to become necessary. I really think that a group like Crypto.com or a group like Ledger would really benefit from making like a very simple netbook that had a built-in a hardware wallet with sort of cold wallet gapping built into it, where you had a ledger just sort of built into the chassis of a laptop, just a cheap laptop, and have that be, this is your dedicated crypto machine. There is actually a way but it's very high tech to set up, but you can actually buy enterprise laptops that have what's called a trusted platform module, a TPM, and there's actually versions of that where you can use it to sign crypto. When I get my gear and I open a channel, I may one day do a series on how to accomplish that. So if you have like a ThinkPad or one of the enterprise laptops, you can actually turn the thing that gets used to secure your laptop's hard drive into a key signer for crypto transactions. In that case, only your laptop can do it, but that's neither here nor there.
Gotcha. We're losing a lot of people because they don't want to hear about scams and securities. But listen, I don't care. It's very important. I want to make sure that what happened to somebody in our private community, it doesn't happen to somebody else. Okay, whether you're in our private community or not, I want to make sure everybody's secure. I will not contact you. Neither will Austin. Neither will any of these YouTubers. It's phony. It's fake. If it sounds too good to be true, somebody wants to give you all these tokens, just mark it off as too good to be true and move on, or ask somebody before you do anything. So let's get through some of these super chats. Do you own any Qubit? It's the future of gaming. I can tell you who does own some Qubit.
Still don't. You still don't. You really still don't. It is at a perfect price. Buy some now so I can leave you alone about it. Oh my dear Lord.
Well, I couldn't find it on the. I will get it. I will get it. Everto and Daniel own it, and I will soon own it. Okay, Mari Red. You got some haters
sorry, we skipped something.
Okay.
Somebody was asking about Engine. I can't remember. Sorry, I think we skipped someone. X Squared. You asked about thoughts on Engine. Also, I'm loving Engine. Yes.
Okay.
So sorry, I sort of segued there, but or cut in there. But Engine also one of the ones I really like the tech they're coming up with. I really like their design. Their team does seem extremely competent, and loving them. They do seem they seem to be moving a bit faster in terms of price action and in terms of hype than their tech is really taking things. Like they're not really getting the partnerships at the speed I'd like to see. But that's not a game breaker. Like not a bad thing to hold, not a bad thing to acquire.
I don't know if this is an actual thing, but this is not any way affiliated with me. Zach Humphries, is this really a thing? I don't think so. Hopefully not. Yes, I certainly hope not. If it is out there, I'm not even going to look at it right now, but it's not. I'm not anything around that. Improve 2021. Thanks for becoming a member here on YouTube. Appreciate that. Thanks for jumping in. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to get through. I know I missed a bunch.
Someone was giving me some hate, and I kind of segued through it, which is sort of rude.
Mari Red is somebody who's very active on the channel. Mari, I'm sorry you don't like Daniel, but we love him in our community. He's a huge asset to us. Maybe if you joined our private community, you could see that. I don't know if you're already in there. But again, Daniel, get ready for this, man. You gotta have thick skin.
I love conflicting opinions. I will never pick an asset and invest in it until I have found at least a couple of people whose input I value and will tell me that it's a bad idea. Conflicting opinions are equally as important as due diligence. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, until you've found someone who has talked you out, who is trying to talk you out of an asset, then you haven't done your due diligence on an asset. And it is not. I mean, there are projects where it's extremely difficult. It's not hard to find someone to tell you not to buy into Bitcoin nowadays. But I mean, it was very, very hard to find someone to talk me out of Ergo. I think it was Invest Answers. I can't remember his channel. The very spastic Irish fellow, extremely intelligent.
Great
But
channel. Invest Answers, great channel.
Phenomenal channel, and he was the only one I found that sort of had the negative side of things, and I took that into consideration. It's important to have conflicting points of view.
Yes.
You cannot be tunnel visioned about your investments, because then you are 100% investing with just pure emotion. In which case, you're not investing. You can do the same thing. I've never heard somebody, actually, with the exception of the US dollar, I've never heard somebody be overly emotional about someone talking crap about a physical fiat currency. Okay, like you can talk crap about the US dollar, and Americans, out of sheer American pride, will usually, they'll have their own American pride. But usually it's done in jest. It's not done as a serious, like, I'm offended that you talk crap about the US dollar, and today especially. But I mean, consider it that way. Remove crypto from the equation, or remove your emotion from the equation when you're investing.
100%. Shibnobi's coming up a ton, and I appreciate the super chats on it. We're gonna have to take a look at it. But everybody out there, don't run and just jump into something. To Daniel's point here, before you've done your homework, get some different opinions, look around, talk to people before you jump in. Maybe don't spend as much time as I do before I get into Qubit, but take your time a little bit and do some due diligence. Lulu, what do you think about Nami Inu coin? Again, have not heard about it. Thank you for the super chat, Lulu. I will take a look.
Copyright. First of all, top of the bay, if it's called Nami Inu, I'm going to bet it's already got copyright violations. But what do you like about Nami Inu?
Yes, I like that. Daniel's turning it back to the people who asked the question.
Everyone who asks about a token, be it super chat or not, if you don't tell me why you like it, and not just some general info about the devs are awesome or it's moved a lot of price, give me something that's special about it.
Right.
Sell me on it, and then we'll talk about it. Again, I assure you that I will take my personally 2 minutes out of Zach's time, because I kind of hijack his stream when I come on.
Okay.
And I'll personally talk about it if you give me something that is juicy about it.
Well, we're getting some pushback from Steve on your point earlier. Why does he say or presume there will be a huge bear market and Shiba will drop by 90%? I think he's going off of historical trends here. I mean, we've always had a bear market. And what he's saying is that these types of assets usually fall harder and feel it a little bit more in a bear market. So you're going off history, right?
Perhaps I didn't explain myself correctly, and I apologize for that. When I say there will be a huge bear market, and okay, first of all, there will always be a huge bear market. Okay, we're never going to reach the point where crypto is for the next decade going to be in a consistent bull run. Markets just simply do not work that way. Do I think it will drop by 90%? That's just judging by the only thing I can really judge Shib's performance by is how Doge kind of performed. And Doge during a bear market, when I say bear market, I don't just mean the markets were turning down. I kind of mean really a crypto winter is the term in the art.
Right.
It's really when you have a year or a year and a half where you don't see YouTube videos about crypto. Sorry, Zach. When you don't hear about crypto in the news.
You will still see crypto videos.
Obviously, but what I mean is that you're, I'm not saying we should rely on the YouTube algorithm. That's a horrible thing to rely on for anything. But what I mean is that you today you can barely open the business section of a newspaper without hearing something about some crypto, and you can't really check the news for a week in a row without hearing something about crypto. When that's not the case for a year or a year and a half in a row, that's sort of the crypto winter I'm referring to. And in environments like that, very speculative assets like Shib don't really perform very well.
I will say this about the crypto winter, and I know you and I have had this conversation before, Daniel. I don't know if the crypto winter is going to last like it has in the past. I get it. I understand, but I just think this is different. 2021 is different than 2017 in terms of adoption, in terms of just the media talking about crypto. I mean, now, I could be wrong. I mean, I guess nobody really knows this answer for sure, right? I do think there's going to be some type of crypto winter. Will it last the same amount of time as it has in the past? I don't know. Will it completely go away where people aren't talking about crypto at all? I don't know. Have we reached that threshold where no matter what, bear market, bull market, it's a topic of discussion? What do you think?
I think it has a lot to do with political environment, and I'm not going to wax politics in a discussion like this, but in general, as a society, people kind of drift between talking about their money and talking about the way the world is going to hell. So it's like either their money's going to hell or the world is going to hell, or there's very few times when the discussion is, oh, everything's fine. It's a horrible thing to say, but I think that the time when it's going to happen is when you have either war or, just going by history, the time when people stop worrying about their money is usually when there's like strife around the world. It's a horrible and bleak outlook on things, but it's just the truth in terms of the function of markets. Because in wartime, money comes from nowhere. Let me tune that down a bit because it's getting a bit too bleak. But so I get the sense that as political events kind of, first of all, the time people have had over the last year and a half to talk about crypto, because they've been both locked at home and followed by working from home, has been much more. So a lot of it, I think, would depend on how this working from home thing kind of starts to evolve much more. Mm-hmm. The technology, the adoption of crypto and crypto being a presence as a whole, I am very optimistic that it's going to be that the trend of it being adopted will continue. But I mean, what you have to ask yourself today is, how many things in your daily life rely on Ethereum, or how many things in your daily life rely on Bitcoin? We're still not at that phase yet. I mean, no. It's I think Hoskinson actually put it best when he said, like, it's like being at the point where, how are you going to replace Netscape Navigator? It's right. For those who don't know, for those who were too old to get who were too young to get the reference, Netscape Navigator was one of the first internet browsers, and it just seemed like you couldn't go on the internet without them, and they just vanished. It's like Yahoo; they just they're not a factor anymore.
Let me jump in real quick, Daniel. This right here is what we're talking about. This is fake. See this? We have a fake. I guess me in the chat. This is what we're talking about. None of this is ever real. You're going to see a ton of this plastered everywhere. Never real. Mm-hmm. All right. Sorry, just had to. I saw that real quick and had to throw that in there.
Of course, no, it's absolutely important. I may have lost me. I was talking about war and how bad things are getting. No, so I'm talking about a crypto winter. Okay.
Let's talk about CRO COIN, because I know a lot of people are like seeing this on screen and they're like, "What the heck's going on? CRO. We want to hear about CRO." Love CRO COIN. Love crypto.com.
Oh yeah.
So many good things happening. Yeah, let's transition to a more positive, feel good stuff, because. Wow, when I saw the news that that they're naming the Staples Center, which is an historic arena in LA, the crypto.com arena, I mean, that is just, it blew my mind after seeing the deals that they've done. I love that, crypto.com is getting involved with athletics and professional sports leagues. They understand there's an audience there. And that audience maybe is not, in crypto yet. A lot of those people are not. The deal with the UFC, the 10-year, $175 million deal, the Premier League deals. I think the future is so bright for crypto.com. They're ranked number 13 out of nowhere now.
And their tech. Their tech. They're making their what is it? Chronos. Their Chronos blockchain that they're opening, which is essentially their version of BSC.
Okay.
Which there's one critical thing that was discussed in I can't remember, it was one of their forums, but I cannot actually find it to reference it. But what they may do, which is interesting, is so for those who don't know, crypto.com making their own blockchain. It's called Chronos, and it's in partnership with a whole bunch of other I have hiccups. So they have a whole bunch of other blockchain and interchain projects that they're collaborating with in order to make basically their own version of the Binance Smart Chain, which is what Binance made, which was just a fork of Ethereum. But they're really building it from the ground up. But there's discussion about things which are very fundamental to the design of a blockchain that they're thinking about putting in, which both make it conducive to being a much better version than the Binance Smart Chain executed, and also borrowing tech from future projects that I like from high tech stuff. Let me explain what I mean. One thing they're talking about is an identity foundation, which means that you're not necessarily anonymous with your crypto. Because you're starting with crypto.com, one of the things that I just heard being kicked around about the Chronos blockchain is that your wallet may be tied to an identity. So when you see all this crypto regulation being discussed, where they want, they redefine a broker so that every transaction has to, that a miner and an exchange and a DEX have to actually track the KYC info of someone doing a basic swap, then that information could actually be tied directly to it. So the utility of their version of their Chronos chain appears to be very, very solid in terms of its capacity to be adopted and its capacity and its price, its functionality. I'm not too happy about the model they've chosen for validators. So I you know me, I hate centralization. But I think that the smartest move Crypto.com could actually make right now would be to move their headquarters. I think they're in Singapore nowadays, but to move their headquarters to the U.S. and
I think they're in Hong Kong.
Okay, move their headquarters and their main operations to the U.S. And this is going to sound like a horrible idea, but I think long term it's the right move. Get in touch with the SEC, cover all your bases right away, because the last thing you want is to face the same sort of scrutiny that Binance does. This is just like if Crypto.com asked me that at the very least open a headquarters or a branch in New York, get in touch with the SEC there, get all your ducks in a row, and have it be the blockchain that is adoptable by mainstream users. But I'm very, very bullish on it, and I'm very bullish on it long term. I'm excited to see how their blockchain develops, because I could see them very easily, just by the partners they're already working with. I could see it very, very easily, a lot of projects from Binance Smart Chain which are successful migrating to their blockchain, both for the adoption and for nothing terribly against the Binance Smart Chain, but not being in the, forgive the phrase, shitcoin environment that Binance Smart Chain really is. In terms of their tech, I love the tech that they're working on. I would absolutely have a heart attack if I found that Crypto.com decided to work alongside like IOG and IOHK for their developments, because there's a lot of developments that Cardano and IOHK have been fundamentally building for the last 4 years, give or take, 5 years, 6 years, give or take, that they could borrow a lot of the design from, especially with regards to identity foundation and finality and decentralization. That if they implemented those techs, then right there you've got an excellent like 100% replaces Binance Smart Chain within 5 years. I intend to increase my holdings of Crypto.com by a substantial amount.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot of good things. So here, I want to bring this. We're getting a lot of good feedback in the chat too. Make sure you like that smash button. Talking about CRO COIN here. I know a lot of people, especially in our private community, have been invested. Shout out to Zay. Shout out to Zay, because Daniel, I know you remember that day, don't you?
Zay's the man. Zay's the man.
When UFC announced their partnership, I went on a live stream. That's when I was talking to about 40 people. Thank goodness that Zay was one of them and Daniel was one of them. And we invested in CRO together at about 11 cents. It might have even been 9 cents, something right in that range, 9-10 cents.
Austin also, right, pretty much the same day, also got in on it.
Yep, Austin Hilton, a great YouTuber, one of my best friends, talk to him every day. He also got in on it. But shout out to Zay, because we kind of overlooked this completely. We were talking about the platform and how awesome it was for the exchange itself. Completely forgot about the native token CRO. And we were like, yes, let's invest. Let's get in. And thank goodness we did, because we've, as you can see, more than 7x'd our money. And that's all thanks to Zay, who's been with us since day one. Now, transition. You got something real quick?
Quick shout out to Zay. He is a prolific enough investigator of projects that we had to give him his own channel in Discord. It's called Zay's Corner.
Yep.
And not just that, if you're interested in any sort of play, be it short-term speculative, be it long-term interesting stuff, he's coming up with Velas. He's coming up with it's ones that fly under the radar a lot. His ability to spot potential is way up there, and I would say second to none. He definitely beats me by far in terms of spotting potentials.
And he's looking at tons and tons of projects per day. He's always got something that he's looking at.
Yeah, he's got days where he pops up and he'll throw out 30 projects. And okay, they're not all going to be ones that everyone's interested in, but out of the 30 he gives, at least 3 or 4 are going to be ones that I mean, you'll never see Zay come on and be disappointed by what he puts out. He's never going to put out crap. He's going to put out 30 things that are worth taking a look at, and out of those 30, you'll probably find 1 or 2 that are interesting. He also, honestly, I got into Gala because of his hint on it.
And this is what we're And this is exactly what we're doing in our community. I want to just jump in here because a lot of people create a Patreon page that's surrounded around the creator himself. I didn't want to create that. I wanted to create a community. I wanted to create a think tank of people that are smarter than me in other areas, and that's how I think we all learn and grow together. That's my mantra. That's why I built the channel. Constant growth in our portfolios and in every aspect of life. And I think that's what we're forming. That's what we're developing. So if you want to join us, and when I say us, it's Daniel, it's Zay, it's Boca, it's Trina, it's all of us. It's Perry, it's Everto. And that's what it's all about. Each and every day, you've got somebody to bounce ideas off of. And I think one thing you'll find in our community, and then I'll be done with the pitch and we'll get back to Crow, is there are no stupid questions. Everything is fair game. And I think when you come into it with that open mindset, everybody learns. And I think Daniel would echo that as well. So, Daniel, circulating supply over on CRO COIN. So I'm looking at it here on the far right. 25 billion right now, 83% out of the total supply of 30 billion. From a tokenomics perspective, what does this mean, and how should we assess this?
It's a bit tricky, and in this case, I actually would really not take CMC's word for it. There was, I think it was 60 billion tokens were held by CRO when they initially created. I could be wrong on the numbers here. I think actually Coin Bureau had an excellent breakdown of the specifics of the tokenomic history of CRO. So I advise checking out his video on it because he really broke it down to the exact numbers. But if memory serves, it was 60 billion tokens were held by them, and a great number of them were burned, but they still retained a certain amount. I'm not sure, like, if you're talking about what the circulating supply is, I personally, in this case, I would not trust CMC's numbers, but I couldn't give you more accurate numbers without taking a moment to dig into it.
Fair enough. So a lot of people, I know you're going to love this question. A lot of people want to know price prediction for the CRO coin. Realistically, where could we get by the end of the year if we kept up this pace even remotely?
The end of the year is entire. In this case, the end of the year is so far from being relevant that it's not even like I'm not going to give a number on it. It's not. This is the type of thing. Like, their blockchain is still in beta. It's not even. There's not even a mainnet version available to be on. Like, you can still profit of it. You can still build projects on it. But their Kronos is not, like, the Kronos blockchain that they're working on is not in a state where it's ready to start receiving. I would equate it to Cardano at the moment, where smart contracts are a thing you can do it in a test environment, but they're not really ready without a lot of interaction with the initial developers and a lot of integration work. And also, there's still some fundamentals they need to settle on the chain itself. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not too happy with their validator model. I would like to see a more decentralized, like, again, I get that they're a centralized exchange. I don't really expect them to go full, DeFi, but I would really like to see at least an option for independent validators to enter the space without going through, starting an LLC and applying to them. I don't like to see that level of centralization. I completely went off topic of the question. I'm sorry.
Well, Anthony's got something there. I got it up on screen. Do you see that? I think that would be good just for everybody, just kind of to reiterate. Can you explain
So it's a test net. You essentially, there's a blockchain there. You can obtain. I haven't actually played with it yet, but there's a test network, which is basically a blockchain that is run with fake money. There's, like, you can get the gas token for free, and you can build a contract and issue the contract for free. You're playing with fake crypto, or rather, you're playing with crypto that doesn't have a monetary value or a real world value. So you can build a project on it, and you can start testing the environment. But it's not yet production ready to the point where you could buy. You couldn't today launch a Daniel token on Crypto.com's blockchain, Kronos. But for clarity, Kronos is the blockchain that Crypto.com is issuing. They're bringing it up as their own project, and it's essentially their version of the Binance Smart Chain, which is the BEP20. It's basically Binance. Some years ago, they took a fork of Ethereum and they modified it a bit so that the only people who can mine it are the people they say it's okay to mine it, and they made the Binance Smart Chain.
So this is something that is interesting. PWGEEG. What will happen at the December 25th Staples Center unveiling? not from a technical perspective here, of course, but yeah, this is something to watch. I mean, a lot of people watch the NBA on Christmas Day, and so that is supposed to be the unveiling. Could we get a pump from this? Probably. I think a lot of sports fans in general are probably new to crypto, and they're probably looking at the CRO coin because they're seeing it everywhere. I'm just looking at it from a fundamental standpoint, I guess, or a macroeconomic standpoint. There are a lot of new people who watch sports that are going to be invested in crypto. And I think from that standpoint, crypto.com has done an excellent job. I think they know exactly the audience they're trying to tackle. So yeah, we could see a pump from that. But let me see here. There was something else I wanted to jump to. Where was it?
Well, just in passing, crypto.com arena doesn't have the ring as Cryptodrome or Cryptodome. The Cryptodome kind of just has more of a ring to it than the Crypto.com arena.
I like that. Maybe that'll be the next one. Maybe they'll have a second one. And that's a 20-year partnership, which is absolutely unheard of in this kind of business. 20 years. So, wow.
A key question that I've yet to receive a clear answer on is crypto going to be accepted there? That's my obviously there's going to be some sort of payment option through crypto.com at some point.
Will they be accepting CRO as payments?
Yeah, or CRO or just crypto in general. I mean, they crypto.com has their own. I mean, you can call it a credit card, but it's really a debit card. But yeah, like chargeable credit card or what have you. But will I be able to buy a beer there with crypto? There's.
I think in the future the answer is yes, but how soon that will come, is yet to be seen.
Will my season box seat be an NFT?
I like it. Daniel, I got to ask you this. So everybody out there listening, this is for you too. I'm going to just drop the bombshell here. I got out of all my Bitcoin a couple months ago, and I know that's crazy.
Yes.
But at the same time, I'm looking at the price right now, 56.5. Mm-hmm. Is this a good time to acquire a Bitcoin at 56.5?
It depends the size of your overall investment in crypto. I mean, it's a pristine asset. It is something which I'm not sure of a way to answer this without offending people. It is something that it is absolutely foreseeable. I mean, if you're asking, is it a good price to enter Bitcoin if you don't have any at 56? No, absolutely not. If the question is,
it is a good investment if you don't have any. It is not.
If you don't have any, and 56K or 57K is the overwhelming majority of your portfolio, then it's probably not the wisest move because then you're entirely reliant on it. I would suggest that if you hold no Bitcoin, and you're in a position that you have the disposable income to begin acquiring it, it is not an unwise move to acquire Bitcoin long term. I mean, it's a lot of echoing Michael Saylor in this case, but I mean, the thing is, okay, I have holdings from long ago, which if I wished to borrow against them for other crypto endeavors, I can. Like I have Bitcoin and I have Ethereum, which I acquired early on enough that nowadays, if I wished, I can actually just put those up as collateral and borrow against them and not lose them, but use the same funds to invest in other endeavors. And if those do well, good. If not, then I put in other money to fill in the debt and take my Bitcoin back. I personally, I'm not doing that at the moment, and I've done that only once in the past, and it turned out okay for me. It was about a 4% gain on the overall investment, but Bitcoin is for the time being and for the foreseeable future going to be and going to continue to be the most successful cryptocurrency. It is not. I mean, everyone who has probably considered it has kicked themselves for not buying Bitcoin at 200, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. You're going to be kicking yourself a year from now for not buying Bitcoin at 50,000. It's inevitable. I mean, it comes down to how much disposable income do you really have, and how interested are you in moving assets to crypto. I'm not sure of a better way to put it. I'm sorry. To sell, if you hold Bitcoin nowadays and you're considering selling it in favor of investing with other assets, you are taking you are taking gold that you know is going to go up over time. There is little doubt that given sufficient time, Bitcoin will be worth more than 68 or 70K. That eventually it will reach the 100K mark. It's not going anywhere. It is safer nowadays than holding stable coins in the long term. Like if you're looking to have a stable coin value that will grow over time, take some Bitcoin, stake your Bitcoin, don't touch it ever again.
Let me ask you this then, in terms of an allocation standpoint, and I know we're losing some people because we're not talking about some of the more speculative plays, but I want to balance this out because
Shib to the moon. There we go. Shib to the moon.
Shib to the moon. We've talked about Shib. We've talked about Saitama. Go back on the stream. We're going to wrap this thing up probably in about 10, 15 minutes. But so is there a number of your overall portfolio? Say you didn't have any Bitcoin right now, hypothetically. How much would you have to have elsewhere before you say, yep, let's go buy a full Bitcoin at 56.9 right now?
Well, if in my case, it would be depending on what bag you're talking about. But if we're looking at overall crypto holdings, I never get less than 35% of my overall holdings in layer ones. And my layer ones are about my layer one portfolio. So at the moment, it's mostly just Ethereum, bit of Algorand, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Cardano and Ergo. That'll never be less than 35% of my portfolio, because those are the assets which you are insured to gain as crypto gains. Okay, as crypto becomes
and you did say Ethereum in there too.
Yes.
Okay.
Ethereum's a sizable holding for me. Substantially less than Cardano, but I see it as having an excellent future. I just don't see it. I see at some point Ethereum will choke itself off, in that it will become so expensive and so like it will just become such an unusable platform for new projects that it will just be so preferable to go on to any of the the wide variety of other chains that are available for any new projects. But, again, everyone knows what the best Ethereum killer is. Ethereum 2.0. It's that's 100% going to be the Ethereum killer. We know that for certain. I'm not convinced, based upon the tech that they've given, based on the papers that they've given out and the EIPs that are involved in Ethereum 2.0, that it will do enough to lower gas fees to make it usable. And then we're not going to start the debate here about what will replace it. It's a moot debate, to be honest. And also, it's not, don't invest in ETH. ETH is going to do very, very well. But to go back to the original question, I never leave less than 35% distribution of my overall portfolio in that. And I also I'm hearing myself through on and off. We solved the echo problem, but we unsolved it somehow. I also retreat to when I see lots of risk, when I see lots of unpredictable movements in the markets overall. I tend to retreat sort of at a 60-40 distribution between those layer one chains and stablecoin and liquid assets. So that I've been, during this dips recently, I've acquired a substantial amount of both ADA, Ethereum, and Ergo. I haven't acquired more Bitcoin because at the moment I'm quite happy with my Bitcoin size, and I don't really see the drive to increase it.
Fair enough. Yeah, just wanted to kind of get your insight and intel on that. Speaking of Cardano, because I know that's such a large holding of yours, where are we at? Are we under 180? Yes, under 180. Is this buy time on ADA?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you're asking that to a guy who, as long as ADA's under $4, I am, every week I acquire ADA. Like, regardless, I will at some point during my every week acquire some amount of Cardano.
Okay. And I know a lot of people, will say it's moving slow, it's too slow, but that's in comparison to these other assets that move hyper fast.
That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to move slow, but it will over time it will grow. I mean, you can look 4 or 5 years ago at every single thing that they released, an immensely long, rigorous mathematical proof and white paper on exactly what they were going to do, and they're meeting everything. And the action we're seeing right now, you saw it after the Shelley hard fork. You saw it, you saw it after the not Gogan. Can't remember the name of the hard fork before it. I've been having whiskey for a little bit last while, but every hard fork that Cardano has had, you see this sort of activity where it sees a nice spike, and then it sees a nice bit of it sees it sees a lot of retracement for a few weeks. Mm-hmm. Then when you start to see it, and the thing we're waiting for right now is that it's a lot harder to write a product, a DeFi product or a contract that works well. They've got technical issues to overcome. So it's not as simple in an EUTXO blockchain that has the features such as Cardano has to create the same environments to create your own Uniswap or to create your own decentralized app, or if you want to make a layer 2 based off of it, because of the way it's designed. The tech is much more high tech. But because of that, you have to interact with the people who make the blockchain to make sure that you're doing it properly. So every dApp, I mean, in Ethereum, there's a very cookie cutter version of how to make an exchange, and you can tweak it a little bit. You can play with it a lot. You can make new features based upon what's available to you, but you kind of have to stick to this sort of cookie cutter model and see how far you can go with it. In Cardano, they allow a lot of more programmability to things. So because of that, we have to have a small example would be like if you're making a DEX, if you want to make Uniswap, a problem that SundaySwap is running into on Cardano is because you can parallelize things in Cardano. 10 people can technically swap for the same liquidity pool. If there's a liquidity pool worth $10,000 and 3 people want that pair of 10 and they all have $10,000, technically there's nothing stopping in Cardano of those 3 people all buying the same $10,000 worth of a token. And so each DEX, when they want to design their way to stop that, has to collaborate with the team of Cardano to figure out the best solution to that. But the thing is what you're getting out of that is you're getting the most secure possible thing. I mean, they can mathematically prove that everything is the most secure it can possibly be done and can't be hacked. It can't be hacked is a dangerous thing to say on the internet, but it is as close to the most secure and the most provable you're going to get. But you're never going to see Cardano. I mean, never, ever buy Cardano expecting it to jump by 50% or 20%. Expect it to grow by a couple of percent over a week, 2, 3. But it's definitely an acquire it, and hold it for long term.
Do you have any strong feelings on Polkadot? Somebody just mentioned why ADA over DOT.
It's two different. It's 2 different spheres of. They're doing 2 different things altogether. DOT is making parachain structures for basically creating side chains and sharding environments based upon existing blockchains and working between chains and such. And but they're not really fundamentally making. I'm trying to keep my answer as short as I can. Cardano is making a layer, a 3rd generation of what a layer 1 blockchain should look like, where you can do voting, where the stuff that we haven't thought of yet that blockchain can be used for will be used for. Polkadot is working on solving problems with blockchains today, and maybe having some future tech adoption with it and making it, allowing tech. So they both have the same end goal of increasing the ease of adoption. But they're very much filling different niches. It's not one instead of the other. I mean, DOT is a strong thing to hold. My only reservation about DOT is that they're kind of in a saturated marketplace. I really don't like there are massive differences between all these layer 2 and parachain solutions that are going on, and it's very, very hard to pick a winner and to try and distribute across the amount of potentials there. It spreads you out too thin, and you're not really, you're sort of hedging against everybody, and you're not really going to earn much off of it. And on top of that, okay, to really try to keep it short, I think until you see Ethereum 2.0 come out, you really can't get a clear idea of where any of the layer 2 solutions or when the parachain solutions and that are really going. Polkadot has got amazing potential because their tech is very solid, and they can serve other chains. And they can serve their own infrastructure very well, but they have like you could just as easily invest in Matic, and suddenly they get Ethereum instead of ETH 2.0 didn't work. Now we're going to work with Matic. Okay,
which I think they should already be doing that, but that's just my opinion.
They could, but there's logistical reasons why. I mean. It still isn't actually proven that Matic can scale, that they just won't run into the same problems that Ethereum ran into, because technically they're still using the same overall model.
But Ethereum 2 is still a layer 1. That's another thing I don't think people realize. It's not a layer 2. It's still a layer 1 solution.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a better layer 1 solution.
In theory,
supposed to
yes.
Be. Right.
In theory. Again, my project, again, just doing some very, very, very ballpark math. I get the sense that ETH 2.0 will, however exaggerated gas prices will be by the time it comes out, I get the sense that ETH 2.0 will probably, at least at the start, take gas prices down by about 90%. But the question is between now and then, will you see much broader adoption?
That much? Wow.
Yeah, but the thing is that first of all, with the value of ETH, and then on top of that, with the actual adoption of ETH, is it really going to reach? Are we going to do a lot of work to get back to square one? I mean, gas prices will continue to increase. One, because ETH will become more expensive, but on top of that, because because ETH will be adopted more broadly, and NFTs will continue to be popular for the meantime. But whatever replaces NFTs will most likely take more compute resources to mine. So definitely, gas prices will continue to go up. Whenever ETH 2.0 gets released, at the beginning at least, it will be an improvement, but you haven't solved the fundamental problem. The design of ETH versus ETH 2.0 overall is still roughly the same. They're just moving to a proof of stake model that doesn't actually give them the level of control over the difficulty of mining blocks versus block size versus it doesn't solve the trilemmic issues that ETH has with adoption 100%. It's not a magic pill. I could keep opining on this, but you get the idea. It won't be bad. It won't be bad for anything, but it's not gonna.
We don't know how good it's gonna be yet.
Yeah.
Until we see it. So a couple more things here, and then we're going to wrap things up. So Steve, got your super chat here. Impact of McDonald's accepting Shib as payment. If that comes to fruition, I think it could certainly help. Amazon, of course, could certainly help. Definitely. Both of these, but they're both just speculation right now. Do I think Amazon will accept various cryptos here very soon? I do. I do think that's coming, especially with the news of PayPal. I could see an integrated, system there with PayPal on Amazon maybe being the first rollout. Daniel, you want to jump in on that?
What I'd like to see is integration with Visa or with payment solutions at point of sale. Yep. And I know people are going to shout Saitama now, but
Alchemy Pay too.
Yeah. Again, that's also one of those marketplaces that's very, very hard to pick to pick who's got the best tech, because a lot of the payment solutions that are available. I mean, Cody also has a great base. Coinbase had a bit. Was it Coinbase? It was either Coinbase or Cody. I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember at the moment. But someone had a semi-banking solution where you could have a bank account that your employer could deposit your check to, and you could actually receive your paycheck in crypto. Someone had released something about it. It would start with a C. It was either Coinbase or Cody. I'll check it a bit after, but yeah.
Steve has a funny comment. It really doesn't matter at the moment if they accept it. Are you really going to spend 15 million coins on a Big Mac? I guess that's on.
It's not. Yeah. It's not just that. It's also the gas. I mean, this is why Ethereum it has got these systematic problems, because this is why Saitama can't do point of sale. This is why I mentioned it earlier. You're not going to go to an arena to watch an MMA fight, and you're gonna buy 2 beers and a hot dog, and they're going to pay $15 in gas on a good day.
It's not feasible. Yeah, it doesn't make sense until they figure that out. But all right, so let's end the stream on Saitama, because I'm getting a lot of comments. People probably just jumping in. By the way, we did cover Saitama earlier on in the stream, so if you want to go back, listen to it. We covered Shib, Saitama. We've covered CRO COIN. We've covered market conditions. We've covered a host of other things. When Daniel and I get to talking, I think we could just roll with it. We're over 2 hours in. But kind of a recap on Saitama. SaitaMask, do we have a hard date? No, we don't. They told us at the Vegas event within 2 weeks. Then they kind of said, hey, Certic's really backed up. It could even be a little bit longer. Now, we do know that Certic is backed up. Certic has put out numerous messages saying, hey, we've got a lot on our plate right now. We're trying to get through them as quickly as we can, but we're going to do our due diligence as we always do. So we're waiting for that. We know beta testing went well with SaitaMask. That's what we do have. But I guess we sit back and we wait. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but hold on and wait for SaitaMask to be released. Daniel? You on the same?
No, not really. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. Okay, as a programmer for enough years, I can tell you that 2 weeks is the amount that I tell PMs when they ask me about project managers. When they ask me for when something's going to be ready, 2 weeks is the default answer I give them when I have no idea how long it'll take me. I need to sit down and evaluate it. So that's I'm just saying this as a developer with experience in the field. That when a manager comes to me and says, how long until this is done? And 2 weeks is the answer I give them because it's just long enough that it's close enough that they're not going to be worried that it's too long, and it's long enough away that by the time we reach that deadline, people won't be too worried about it. That's my point of view as a developer. That is not. I'm not saying that's absolutely what's going to happen. I'm just saying that's my experience as a developer for give or take 14 years. I get the sense that what's going to happen is if it takes too long to get the CERDIC approval, what they'll do is they'll release like a testnet version. So they'll have like a Saitama that isn't connected to real crypto, and they'll just give people like a beta version or for like either 5,000 people, 10,000 people, and they'll just let people play with it so that YouTubers can futz with it and show it off. I kind of see that coming before the actual product. I mean, the thing is at the end of the day, people are inevitably going to be disappointed by the release of it. I mean, it's still, we have not tempered any of the hype around Saitama. People are still making videos, honest videos on YouTube. People who seem competent, who are authentically of the belief that Saitama will reduce gas fees on the Ethereum blockchain, not of buying Saitama, but of gas fees on the Ethereum blockchain as a whole. And the only way you can accomplish that is by making a centralized exchange. So again, there are technical aspects of it which bug me. I'm not that impressed by a wallet release personally. I'm looking forward to the other stuff that they have down the pipeline. I'm not like Saitama is not going to change my opinion about Saitama. What it does is it validates people's belief in the project. In this case, I use the word belief on purpose. It validates people's confidence in the project because they have it really. And I'm very happy to finally get my hands on a product they make to see the quality of the stuff that developers come up with. I am not too confident that it's going to come out. I mean, 2 weeks comes out to be the 26th of the month, give or take. I am not confident that will come out on 26th. Just my 2 cents, and that's not it doesn't move me. It doesn't make a difference to me. I've explained my accumulation pattern in Saitama chat and Discord. I'm not going to announce it here because people will hate me. But yeah.
And what he means there, just to reiterate so people understand, he has a certain spot where he'll be accumulating / buying more. So he is still bullish on Saitama. I think people hear that and they're like, oh, well, he's bearish. It's all over. It's all doom and gloom. No, he's the exact opposite here. Speaking of Daniel, I mean, he's looking at when there's blood in the streets, go shopping. I know I totally botched that saying. There's probably a better way to say that, but yeah.
No, I don't like buying the things that I'm interested in when everyone's talking about them and they're overpriced. I mean, buy it when it's cheap. I mean, N95 masks used to cost $4 a piece. Now, by the way, if anybody hasn't stock up on masks. Why? Have them in your cellar. Just keep them for when they're needed. Same exact same approach with Saitama. Don't buy them when they're $2 a piece.
Buy low, sell high. That's the name of the game. Scott says Boston Protocol would love a deep dive / tech analysis in the Discord. Much love, Scott. Appreciate you, man.
I do like the look of Boson. I do like the look of Boson Protocol. It does seem very attractive in terms of their tech. Cool. That one, and there was another one that someone had mentioned that was also Boson's the gaming protocol. I'm mixing Boson and another one up there that are both very attractive. Boson Protocol, I haven't had a chance to do a deep dive on and pull their actual project and play with it yet. But in terms of their overall design, in terms of the look of their Git repo, it does look like a very comfortable protocol to use. Them and Or Token are the two ones sort of in that general sphere, which really do look promising. In terms of price movement, I'm not gonna really talk about it, but in terms of tech that people developing payment stuff could use, it does look like very attractive.
Yep. So we're gonna wrap things up here. Thank you everybody out there for joining us today. Make sure you hit that like button here on the way out. If you do want to continue this conversation, we will have a chat going on in our private community. You could join our private community very easily. Link down below here to this Patreon page I'm showing you. This is the landing page. Come on over and join us. $10 per month get you inside the door if you want the buy and sell trade alerts and hot weekly crypto alerts. You can go with $20 per month. You're going to get access to over 800 of us talking crypto all the time. And I'll be putting my headphones in and heading to the gym after this as they break it down in the classroom. So Daniel, as always, man, it's been a pleasure. Any parting thoughts that you want to leave everybody with?
Keep a journal of things that you learn as you either, if anyone encountered a rug pull or anyone encountered a large loss over the last week or two, honestly, this is a stupid tip. It sounds really stupid, but try it out. Keep a journal, a written journal of your thoughts at that time. If you got rug pulled or if you suffered a mad loss or anything like that, keep a record of the lessons you learned and distill them down into a collection of rules that you follow. Learn from everything that happens with your dealings in crypto, and don't keep them as like pages and never look at. Distill them down to a collection of 5 to 10, maybe 15 rules that you stick to, that you yourself are willing to stick to, so that you can, when you get a rug pull and you have these thoughts in your mind of I'm never doing this again, it's like having a hangover and saying I'm never drinking again. You obviously you're gonna do something close to it again. You're gonna do the same stuff, but maybe if you distill it down to something that can click when you're in that again, you can say, maybe you'll stop yourself the next time and say, wait a second, I'm going to check if these developers look legit, or wait a second, this project over here doesn't have the fundamentals that I should actually be looking for. And I'm going to pass on this potential 10x because it may be a potential rug pull a little more than I'm happy with.
There you go. And we're getting word that Jasmy's listed on Binance. I don't know. We'll have to look at that.
No, that was announced earlier today, actually, in ICO Stats. Yeah, ICO Analytics.
Okay. Quick thoughts on Jasmy.
I haven't had a chance to dig into it. When I did dig into it, I started to try to take a look at it, and I kept running into all these Japanese pages, and I think that's the same project, but it's based out of Japan. Yep. But I couldn't find massive documentation done in English. So I'll get to it eventually. But yeah.
All right, we'll leave it with that. Fear and Greed Index, I'll give you that real quick. Keep that on screen for you. There you go, detecting. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we're going to head out of here, head over to our Discord Patreon page, where we're going to continue the conversation. Daniel, thanks again, man, for your time. If there's anybody out there who is live right now, I don't know anybody out there who may be live, let's send the audience their way, and tell them Zach and Daniel sent you.
Hold up. Before we run off, let's see who's live. Okay. Let's see who's live.
Everybody hang in there. We're going to send you elsewhere here.
Has Austin gone live today? Is Austin available?
I don't think he's live. He's out and about with the fam. Last time I talked to him this morning.
Okay. I'm not seeing anybody live.
Okay.
Somebody shout out something and again, we'll take 2 minutes tops. It's 29 minutes after the hour. We'll take 1 minute. If somebody has a channel where we can raid them.
Yeah. Yep. Please, if anybody has one, drop it in here. There's still over 800 people we could send to, and let's get their.
Do you want to ping Chad or one of them, see if they want to go live?
You know what? I can. I'll text them here on the side and just say, hey, I've just got off, and there's an audience who wants to roll.
All right.
I will.
Let's give them 2 minutes, and if they answer, then they get an audience.
Okay. Let's see here. I'll ping Chad over on Twitter.
And I guess Jake too, or he was feeling ill, right?
Jake is he came down with COVID, from what I heard. So that was after the Vegas event. Yeah, I have talked to him. He said he's doing okay. He just taking a few days. We're just trying to get better. So he should be back very soon. Chad, I just texted him. Ahmed, I'll message him as well. I know Ahmed's been doing a lot of traveling recently. He hasn't been doing a ton of live streams either. So Ahmed and I both actually just took a leap of faith, I guess you could say, and made YouTube our full-time jobs. So we're kind of adjusting to that. I'm not quite there yet. I'll be starting doing that in January. Ahmed has just started doing that. So congratulations to him. I will message him.
Congratulations to you, man.
Thank you, my friend. Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's a risk, but I don't know. I felt like it was the time.
You gotta love what you do.
That's it. You gotta.
I'm not saying you don't love teaching, but how long have you been teaching for?
About 8 years. So, give or take. Actually, longer than that. 8 years. That's about right.
Adam Shelton. Wait. Somebody mentioned Adam Shelton. Is he live?
Is Adam live? I met Adam out in Vegas. Great guy. Really like Adam. Had a chance to
Adam Shelton. He appears to be live with CleeDocs. So he's doing what looks to be a CleeKai live stream. But
okay.
We'll
there you go.
So people who are interested.
Adam.
Yeah, he's talking about dog coins and stuff like that. So yeah, but he's great people, you know. Yeah. All right, everybody
100%.
over. If you're not joining us in the Discord for a classroom chat, then strongly advise you to hop over to Adam Shelton's channel. Tell him Zach sent you. I would go there too, but I have to be in the classroom. And everyone have a lovely evening.
There you go. So head over, go see Adam. Daniel, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate everybody checking in. Hit that like button on your way out. We will see you in the next one. See ya.